Well, hello everybody and welcome to the 359th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host Steve Wellings, and joining me on the call we have Andy Patterson, Ozzy Smith and Gabe Lewis. Very good evening to you all. Glad you could join us on mixler.com/Boxing Asylum from 8 o'clock on Sundays. The Patreon RSS feed shortly after the show concludes. And on Mondays you could be listening to us on YouTube, Soundcloud or iTunes. A nice strong chat getting together there. El Cholo's in, of course. That's Andy, Georgie Vladov, Tony Ballou, High Guard Plodder, Dedwin Valero, Joseph Wolstenhume. I think I saw Matt Russell knocking about as well. Iceberg, Slim, MB, Take Ames as well, B Albs, all the boys. Good to have you. I will let you know whenever Jason Chukwu appears. Let's start off straight away, shall we? Gary Russell versus Tug. Where was this? I think it was over in Pennsylvania, wasn't it? Yeah, Pennsylvania Athletic Commission. I thought it was quite a highly skilled fight, actually, Ozzy. To call Tug a come-forward fighter, it would be too simplistic. He showed good boxing ability, good head movement, but he just couldn't close the gap consistently enough without getting popped, and he knew that. And Russell, it was his jab. It was such a key weapon. It was a distraction tool. It was fast. Even when it wasn't landing all the time heavily, it sets everything up. Now, I believe, Ozzy, that I might be the only one from the people I've talked to who actually enjoyed this spectacle. I thought it was a really good fight, but what did you see?
I thought it was a skilled performance. I can see why some people didn't enjoy it, but then some people enjoy, whatever level of two people standing there and trading. I thought Russell boxed really well. I think a lot of us said last week that he would win on points. I thought Tug was getting a lot of hype pre-fight, particularly in the run-up as well. I mean, his odds short, and I think he was a 6 or 7-1 underdog. I'm sure he went into 5-2. Or something. So there was money on him and there was hope for him as well. And I saw a lot of people whose opinions I respect saying he was worth a bet. And in reality, he was never really in the fight. I thought Russell nullified everything that Tug wanted to do. And overall, an impressive display for me. I mean, look, it's easy to be frustrated by Gary Russell because he has his one fight and then pisses off for 12 months and returns. But look, it's a performance that he can certainly be buoyed by. He's dealt with a mandatory. And what I'm pleased to see is now he is calling out the bigger names. Now, he's got time on his side this year because, look, he came through relatively unscathed. We're in early February. There's bags of time for him, essentially, to get one or another 2 fights in this year. There's talk of him he potentially may move up. I can see why. I certainly think he's quite tight at the weight, and he's not small for that. And an interesting fight that I saw and that I would like to see is he called out Gervonta Davis. I think that's a great fight for him. Now, I mean, it's all right in calling that out, but look, we've seen him step up before. He stepped up to face Lomachenko, and that was a great fight as well. So it's not unheard of him taking the bigger fights. Fingers crossed, it can happen this year, and he gets his arse into gear. His management, his promoters get their arse into gear, and actually get this guy active. Because when he is active, he's a talented fighter, and for me, he's one of the best in the division. By a long way as well. I think, look, I would take Warrington in the majority of, against a lot of the world champions. But Gary Russell Jr., I think, is all wrong for him. And there's no shocks that the Warrington camp have stayed quiet on that. And that's because Russell's got a lot of skills. He can box. He's quick. He's a decent fighter.
Yeah, he can pace a 12-rounder as well. I think the Showtime commentary crew, which I will come to shortly, were possibly placing Josh Warrington as number one in the division. Quick shout out, we were talking about this off air actually, guys. Obviously the weather's pretty bad here, so if anybody cuts off or disappears or all of a sudden we're away with it, I mean, I live out in the friggin' sticks, so things could happen. Hopefully we'll be here for the duration, but if we cut off, you'll know exactly that maybe the roof's come off or the internet's gone down or something, so we'll do our best. I think everything's okay over there in Texas anyway. We'll come to Gabe shortly. So yeah, I had it 116, 112 to Russell. probably a little bit too close. Giving four rounds to Tug was maybe tightening up a bit too much. I think Gary Russell had a good 11th round, which showed his mettle because he was tiring a little bit, and he paced the fight pretty well. Now, Gabe, I was talking about Showtime there, and Malignaggi and Al Bernstein's early exchanges were quite interesting because Al Bernstein was calling for uppercuts and body shots, whereas Malignaggi said, well, Tug, Nyambia, he's doing the right things here, but it's difficult because of Russell's style and his athletic talents to actually make it pay. And I don't always agree that we should venerate the ex-boxer. Sometimes they do talk shit, but Malignaggi uses his role perfectly, and he uses the fact that he was a high-level fighter to great effect on his analysis, Gabe. And I like the fact that he said to Bernstein he should be doing those things, he is trying to do those things, but Russell is so effective, he's nullifying everything Tug's doing. That was a good insight from Malignaggi, so shout out to the Showtime commentary team from me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Paulie is one of the better commentary guys that you have in the sport right now. I mean, I'm rewatching the first fight from that card, Velez and Arboleda, excuse me, and I really have always enjoyed Paulie's commentary. There was a certain amount of respect I had for guys like Big George Foreman and other fighters turned announcer. Sergio Mora, I mean, sometimes he does have some good insight, but he's kind of one of those guys that I don't really care for. Big George, I don't know where he came up with half the shit that he said. And I feel like Paulie's maybe one of the best ones that I've got to watch over, the years that I've watched boxing. What's the gentleman? There's a Hispanic gentleman. Jesus Christ. He does Showtime cards too, like the
Raul Marquez, is it?
Yes, God damn it, I couldn't think of his name. Yeah, Raul Marquez.
Good fighter, yeah.
He seems to do a pretty good job too. It seems like a difficult task for a lot of fighters to go into being really good commentary guys later on. But I think Paulie has it really figured out. So I think Al has a lot of experience, and Paulie kind of puts in some of the finer points that maybe people that haven't boxed before aren't really familiar with. So it's easy for a guy like Al or the average listener to say, well, maybe he should do this instead. And Paulie can kind of describe, well, you could try that, but this is what the opponent's doing to make that difficult. Just like you said, I really do always enjoy the Showtime broadcast crew because they typically don't seem to me like they just get really stuck on one person. Mauro Ronaldo occasionally, and they do sometimes seem like company guys. Of course, that's all, I'm sure, part of the job description. But I feel like Al and Paulie keep it pretty down the middle. They're not guys that color it with a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, one of the guys in the chat, who was it? I think it was Highguard Plodder, was saying there that they're wasted. The likes of Paulie and Bernstein are wasted covering fights like Easter Barthélemy and Postal Mimoun. Absolutely right. They should be dealing with higher level fights. A lot of the good fights are going over to Fox at the moment, such as the nature of the PBC. Maybe my old mate Stephen Espinoza will sort this out. Lee IFL Frotch is in the chat now, formerly Lee Alcoholic Frotch. Showtime, the best in the business. Yep, love a bit of Showtime, me. Love a bit of Andy Patterson as well. He's on the call with us here for episode 359. No sign of Rob Kelly yet. Tactically speaking, Andy, I thought Russell did, like I said, he paced the fight really well. And as for Tug, the left hook to the body, it's a good little sneaky shot around the side of the southpaw guard. Jarrett Hurd used it well against Erislandia Lara. As Russell started to become more of a stationary target, stopped using his jabs so much, Tug was able to just tuck that left hand round the guard. But I wouldn't, even though I had it 116, 112 to Russell, I could see a couple of rounds going towards him and making it a 118, 110. I think, did I hear it right, Andy? Did Jimmy Lennon Jr. read the scores out wrong? He read out like 118, 100 or something, or was that just me? Did you catch that?
I never caught that, mate. I actually switched it off as soon as the 12th round finished. Yeah. I caught the cards on Twitter. I think it would have been a much closer fight on the cards if Tug had actually started quicker, because that says that, it was like the first 4 rounds, it was pretty dominant, I thought, by Russell. I thought, he boxed off the back foot with Tug just kind of like falling about. He just couldn't get a shot off on Russell, who was just happily kind of pop the jab, moving about and kind of maybe like throw a couple of combinations and stuff. But I did notice a change in Tug around about the 6th. He came a wee bit more aggressive. I mean, obviously he was aggressive the entire night. He was always the front foot, but certainly he was more than willing to kind of like walk forward, and just kind of disregard any shots that was coming at him, because he must have known he wasn't doing nothing the first 4 or 5 rounds. So as you say as well, Russell, I don't know if it's just where he's at in his career at this point, if he's not active enough. But as you say, he managed the rounds pretty well. I did think he was visibly tired after the 11th and obviously the 12th, and that he was breathing kind of heavy. I thought it was a really good round by Tug in the 12th as well. So, and I thought it was a decent fight. Okay, it was definitely one for a kind of purist perspective. It was obviously 2 high-level guys, good good schooling, good pedigrees. Obviously, top amateurs back in their own right, but it was just one of those fights that they probably just nullified each other, and they couldn't really kind of land cleanest shots. They kind of really buzz the other or really trouble the other fighter. So for me, it was a very good performance by both guys, and but I think Tug will definitely come again. He'll definitely get another shot. But Russell, as everybody says, you just want to see him active. So you want to see him. There's that guy that Galahad fought last night, and you could probably guarantee that Galahad, it sounds bad, but Galahad looked far better beating that guy last night than what Russell did over 12 rounds. So it might be a problem with the weight, who knows, but at this point, obviously the money fights for him at this point is at 126, so he needs to stay where he is at the minute. But I don't think it's happening in Santa Cruz, but chances of moving up in weight, possibly. But I'll be absolutely ecstatic just to see him kind of fighting more than once this year.
Yeah, MB's backing me up here, so the commission fucked up one of the cards, so indeed Lennon obviously read out just what he got handed, so there you go, there was an issue there. Ozzy, just circling back to you quickly before we go on to Rigondeaux on the undercard, I know Tug has his limitations, he's only had 12 fights or whatever, but watching Gary Russell Jr. there last night, knowing what he did against Lomachenko, and just seeing the athletic ability of the guy, he can clearly punch, he's clearly fast, he's defensively responsible, he's a great mover, he's able to pace the rounds. Am I out of order in saying here, if this guy got his ass into gear, I think this ship has sailed to a certain extent now, but back in the day, he'd had more fights, he'd put a better run of wins together, he could be pushing the sort of top 10 of pound for pound. Would you be on board with that, Ozzy?
100%, and there's nothing to dispute that whatsoever. Look, he had a very good fight with Lomachenko, and it was close, but and there's no denying that whatsoever. It was close. Of course, he came up short, but then, as you say, Steve, there's just been too many inconsistencies, too much inactivity to really justify his full potential. And I think we see that with a lot of boxers now, that they've got so much to give and so much talent, but sometimes they just don't care. And it's only when they get later in the career they see that they look back and think, actually, if I'd have done this and I'd have done that, I could have been so much further on. That saying, I still think he's got a lot to give. He's only 31, so he's not, he's by no means, like a youngster, but at the same time, he's certainly not tailing off to the end of his career. He's not taken a lot of punishment either, and he's got all the skills and attributes from where he can still go on and get some big wins. If he's not going to hang around at featherweight now, I think it's fair to say that if he does jump up, potentially to super feather or even straight up to lightweight, you can excuse him, having like a bedding in fight at one of the weights, and then from that, for a guy with his skills and ability, you'd want to see him, jump into the big fight straight after that. But no, I think it's definitely fair in what you're saying, and I would agree with that.
Gary Russell wasn't the only. Gary Russell getting a win on the undercard. Gary Russell moved to 12-0 at super lightweight with a knockout in the first round over Jose Marufo. Gary Russell, the other one, Antonio, 16-0 now, bantamweight win. Disqualification over Jesus Martinez. Too many Gary Russells to keep up with here, Ozzy.
Oh no! Yep, I know. There's it's quite amusing actually how many of them there is. Clearly the mother couldn't be arsed naming anything else, so she just went with the same name, which is understandable really. I mean, look, first name the same, last name the same, and then we'll just stick with the middle ones as well, so change the middle name. So yeah, lazy cow.
Only having a baby once a year, you know how it is in the Russell household. Go on, Andy.
Oh, I was just laughing, man. Honestly, no, I was looking at his record, obviously, just before we came on and stuff. You know, talking about like maybe like pound for pound potential, but we just need to kind of break it down as well. From 2015 to now, he's like, as you say, fought once a year, and in that time he's beat Johnny Gonzalez, who's like 65 fights deep by this point, right? So, and obviously he's seen better days. Patrick Hyland, Steve, you'll care more about him than what I do. Oscar Escandon, who, to be honest, probably classes maybe kind of gatekeeper status, and then you've got Jojo Diaz. Okay, that win gets better after what happened last week. Then you go to like Kiko Martinez, who by this point is like, you know, who is he? In 2019, he's not what he was back when his European days and when he got the Fringe World title, and then you got that fight there last night. So even like pound for pound, you know, if you're talking talent wise, okay, you could potentially make that argument, but the depth's not there. It was an activity.
Steve did say that though. He said literally if he'd have got his arse into gear, the talent's definitely there, but as you say, the CV just doesn't back it up. I mean, the Jojo Diaz win gets better, as you say. Was that a mandatory? I can't see him, voluntary taking.
Yeah, Tug was mandatory.
Yeah, it was, aye.
Yeah. So I'm guessing that by looking at it, Hyland was a voluntary. Was then Escandon a voluntary as well?
Yes.
And then Diaz went into the mandatory. Martinez was the...
You made 2 full years without a mandatory defence, is that right?
I would assume so, yeah. Unless... I can't see Gonzalez being named the mandatory.
I can't remember the situation.
No, of course not. No, sorry, I'm wrong there, yeah. So, I mean, it's largely... Yeah, but yeah, I mean, he's had, what, in that time? 2 mandatories against Diaz and Tug last night, and then defences against Escandon, Patrick Hyland. I mean, fucking hell. I mean, that is the levels of, like, Jason Wellborn type of thing, pulling him in for a world title shot. And then, as you say, a washed Kiko Martinez, who'd been battered pillar to post by a number of fighters, and he was coming in. I mean, I'm surprised he was even sanctioned for that.
Yeah, Patrick Hyland was too slow. He had gone the distance with Javier Fortuna, though, so he had shown some kind of form around that sort of fringe world level, but yeah, he was way too slow for someone as fast as Gary Russell.
Yeah, and is he retired now, Steve? Hyland?
Yeah, Patrick's... Yeah, I think he had his final fight against Josh Warrington, didn't he?
Oh, God, is that when it was? And he badly missed the weight that time as well, didn't he? I think, did he miss it by about £3?
Yeah, he definitely missed it, yeah.
He struggled, didn't he? Yeah, that was it, yeah. £2 6 ounce over the limit, and I don't think he bothered to weigh in again. But yeah, an unnecessary chat about the career of Patrick Hyland.
There you go, good old Patrick Hyland. Yeah, the Hyland brothers were at a lot of their fights in Dublin back in the day. Hamed saying Diaz was Mando and Tug. Josh Warrington was the best featherweight going by resume. Moving on to the undercard, Gabe. Guillermo Rigondeaux. I was searching frantically for this morning, couldn't find a copy anywhere. Then I noticed Rigondeaux had gone the distance and won on a split decision. I decided to give up my search for this fight. I think you watched it in its entirety, all 12 rounds. Was I missing out, Gabe? Should I go and catch this during the week?
If you have nothing better to do, such as go to work or maybe punch a dog in the face or kick a baby that's crawling on the ground, there's about 1.5 million other things that you'd probably rather do than watch this fight. I've been the biggest Rigondeaux supporter forever, and last night was very disappointing. So he started off the first round like he did against Julio Ceja in his last fight, with that posture where he's leaning in, covering up with his hands up high, and allowed Solis to tee off on him. And so I'm thinking, oh, here we go. It's going to be another barn burner. And he got in a few punches, but for the most part, the first round, he was standing there right in front of Solis, letting Solis tee off. And he gets stunned, and he was hurt, and he was pretty badly hurt because he kept holding on. You know, we've seen Rigondeaux be stunned before, and he will grab, but not to the level that he did last night. I mean, he was hurt. I think Solis maybe could have put him out if he could have put some punches together on him. But then after the first round, he goes back to the corner, and I suppose Ronnie Shields told him, hey, stop that bullshit, because it was a complete 180 after that. He moved, like he always does, maybe perhaps a little bit more in certain spots of the fight. But the biggest difference of last night was he did not throw punches at all. And Solis was throwing punches, so there were times where he could have countered, but he was much more content to make Solis miss for most of the fight. And then the few times that he did throw punches, he landed, and he landed well, and he hurt Solis, knocked him down, and he scored a knockdown. I was trying to remember. And then he stunned him another time and had him on Queer Street. I mean, Solis wobbled, and then his legs did the stiff thing, and he looked like he was about to go, and Rigondeaux did not finish the fight off when he had the opportunities. So throughout the fight, he is allowing Solis to kind of bring the pressure to him, although Solis, once he got countered a few times, was too much of a chicken shit to throw any punches, which is completely what Rigondeaux has done for his whole career, similar to Bernard Hopkins, in that his best way of working is to bring his opponent's activity down so that his low level of activity in general looks much more. And then, of course, because he's so accurate with his punches and does punch hard, it looks even better. But last night, I mean, he was not throwing and was, like I said, just perfectly content for almost the whole fight to move around. So I was kind of wondering if the judges would award Solis with the fight, and sure enough, we had a split decision. So I really don't feel like the fight was close at all in terms of who was in control, because almost said Gamboas. Rigondeaux was completely in control throughout the whole fight, but he never did anything to score points. And you can't win if you don't score points. And so the fight was actually pretty close because of the fact that he did nothing pretty much the whole fight. And this is coming from, myself, a huge Rigondeaux supporter, someone who really has been invested in his career, really loves to watch the guy fight, but last night may possibly have been one of his worst performances overall in terms of entertainment value of the fight. So I would probably recommend most of the fans, if you don't have anything better to do and you absolutely want to, go ahead. But I'm warning you, it was not pleasant to watch, at least for me. But it could have come down to the fact that in the first fight, Jason Velez and Arboleda had a pretty good show in the first fight on the card. So you go from that to this, and it makes it maybe seem a little bit even worse than it was. But yeah, overall, Rigondeaux got out with the win. Gee whiz, I don't know what happens next for him. Not real particularly excited about his next potential fight unless he decides to come out and throw some punches. He's going to have to throw punches.
Yeah, Guillermo Rigondeaux getting a win over Mr. Solis. Gabe, watching the fight, doing the heavy lifting for you so you don't have to. Quick shout out to Charles Conwell. We mentioned him last week. First fight back since the Patrick Day incident. Ramses Agaton was the opponent. 5th round knockout win for Mr. Conwell. So onwards and upwards to him. We wish him well, naturally. Also, Rapping Rob Kelly is in the house. With those storms, Rob, God knows what you're sounding like. Are you safe? Are you okay, Rob? I'm worried about you.
Oh, the storm. No, I haven't got out yet, man. I'm still indoors, so I'm safe enough.
Good man. Be safe indeed. You wouldn't be safe, Rob, if you were met with the fast fists of Gary Russell Jr. up against Tug last night. Did you catch any of it?
Tug life. Yeah, I did actually watch it. It was boring enough, to be honest with you. I don't know if it's Russell's inactivity or whatever, if he's kind of let his prime pass him by, and it might be a little bit harsh on him, but I didn't see the flurries or the fast hand movement from Russell as much last night. To be honest with you, I was going to turn it off after around 4 rounds. I saw Tug trying to find him and he couldn't find him, even though and Russell not really engaging that much because of Tug's power, so it's kind of boring affair. But kind of when you look at Russell's career, he's only ever lost to Lomachenko, so he's got a respectable enough career, but he hasn't really fought too many high level opponents. I'd give him Tug though. Tug is a good win for him. Not an easy guy to get a win against, and looks like it's all systems go for Santa Cruz, doesn't it? Now how that fight gets made or whatever, if it gets made, I don't know. But that's the fight I'd want. Because of that shit that he did to Santa Cruz's dad as well, by the way. I'm still sour over that, as I mentioned last week. But yeah, nothing spectacular, was it? Really, really poor enough. A poor enough Saturday night for fights now, to be honest with you. Out of the three main fights, it's hard to kind of get any kind of redeeming qualities out of any of them, isn't it? Like, very, very poor night, very poor weekend for the boxing.
Rob, just before we go on to Kell Brook or Rigo, indeed, tell me about, I know you're a big fan of Mongolian boxing. Where does Tug sit in the pantheon of great Mongolians? What about Lakvar Sim, who once fought Juan Diaz, possibly Choi Savenperu, former prize fighter on these shores? Where does Tug rate?
I don't know, man. He could be the greatest Mongolian of all time. If there's an IFL equivalent for Mongolian boxing, then they're definitely dropping the ball if they don't label all their weigh-ins intense Mongolian beef. But be safe. There could be a vacancy for Umar. He could end up in Mongolia now. He's taking some time to reflect.
Drink some yak's milk.
So shitty enough night. Like, in terms of Rigo and Kell Brook, look, I'll come to Rigo very quickly. I said last week, we're going to see one of these performances from him. The day is coming where he's going to get iced. He's 40. He's 40 now. His official age is 40, so that means 50. He's had God knows how many amateur fights at this stage. Turned pro. I think the real pity about Rigo is that we didn't get to see the best of him as a pro. He turned over too late, and when he did turn over, his pro career was an absolute mess. In terms of the fight, I think Solis did the right thing. You have to jump on Rigo now and try and make him work, make him feel old. Threw a lot of shots, but then went back to it. Kind of reminded me of the Tion Kennedy fight for a while when he was with Arum, and Arum was the whole time saying, "I don't care how good he is. You have to put asses in seats, kid. You gotta knock him out." And he exchanged with Tion Kennedy, and then he got dropped. Was it Tion Kennedy? It wasn't Tion Kennedy. It was the other guy that Bernard Dunn beat for the world title. Cabrera, was it?
Oh, Cordoba. He dropped him with a body shot, didn't he?
And he got dropped.
Yeah.
And he just got up and said, "Fuck this" for the rest of the fight. I'm not engaging. You throw first. No, you throw first, Rigo. No, you throw first. It was one of those like.
There was a story during that fight. Apparently, Brendan confirmed that his mum, I don't know if she had died or was seriously ill or was close to passing away. Plus, his son, I think, took no well as well in Cuba. Granted that fight, eh?
Yeah, there was a bit of that, yeah. No, look, I didn't know any of that on fight night. I'm just watching it and thinking, like, fuck. Like,
look at the Agbeko fight, though.
The 7th round, you saw flashes of the old Rigo.
Yeah.
The Agbeko was off. That was one of his.
Look at the Joyan Francisco fight. That was going to be another comeback for him, wasn't it? Francisco, and he asked about with him for 10 rounds.
Couple of stinkers. He didn't help himself, definitely. I think that's been the biggest pity of his pro career, that he didn't play the game in terms of entertainment. I think Finn touched on that, didn't he, when he was on the pod? Talked about, like, he just had a flagrant disregard for what the public opinion was on boxing. It was like, I am this high level boxer or puncher. I can make fellas miss and I can counter them, and if I can do this, then I don't need to do what you want me to do to win the fight. So I think that's kind of plagued him for his whole career. I think you saw...
He said as much as I thought. I don't know if you caught that on the broadcast in the interview. Steve Gray, he said Steve Gray asked him, what do you think about all the... And he said, I do not care. He said, I don't care at all. He said, this is what it got me, and he pointed to his title, which I thought was kind of great because the fans have never...
No, he doesn't give a fuck. And I think that's another thing
in the boxing establishment have never given him credit, and so I can see perfectly how his point of view at this point would be to fuck everything off. I mean, it won't do him at this point. What favors left would he have to call in anyway?
They said as well, he hasn't learned English, but they say, like, he's got a right nasty side to him when he's speaking in Spanish, but it just doesn't always get picked up by the translator. Like, he'll really be like, fuck this guy, who the fuck is this guy's not on my level, blah blah blah. So it kind of, like, the appeal, you never saw, like, the kind of, he didn't do enough to become a star is what I'm saying, but you still saw flashes of how good he could be. Like, I used to be absolutely fascinated by Rigo, that he'd rehearse the shot before he threw it in the ring. So he'd go through the motions, like almost like a shadow box, 1, 2, 3, stick the jab out, follow it with it, and then do the hook, and then do the exact same combination on the guy a 0.5 of a second later. Like, it was absolutely sensational. So he was doing a bit of that last night in the 7th. Probably could have got Solis out. But again, you're looking at a fella 10 years past his prime, how many 100 amateur fights, fighting above his ideal weight for his whole pro career. It's hard. It's easy to forget how good he is or how good he was, and I think we're going to forget that. That's going to be enhanced even more if he goes through with this mission to find Inoue. He says he wants to go monster hunting. I don't know if that'll be a good end for him at this stage of his career, to be honest with you. Especially when you see him going wobbly legged from the likes of Solis and the last guy as well. Again, you know that the end is near for Rigondeaux. I think that you could say that with some certainty. And then let's get on to Kell Brook. Fuck me, like, where do we start on Kell Brook? Like, and like, look, like I said, Gary Russell wasn't no fucking thriller in Manila. The Rigondeaux fight stunk the joint out. But if you're talking about where the fuck did they get my name is Luke? Did they get him out of the crowd? Where the fuck did they get him? Can anybody try and describe what technique he was using last night for throwing shots? Little T-Rex arms. He had no full extension on the shots. He was a guy that was fighting to survive, to not get knocked out from the first bell. But do your research, Boxing Public. This guy can fight. Against who? Henry fucking Hyde or whoever the fuck it was that beat him before, for fuck's sake. Like, how the fuck
Walter
is that?
Two Guns right.
Yeah, Walter Two Guns. Yeah, Walter Middy.
TJ Donny says you're talking shite, mate.
Yeah, well, that's TJ might want to go for a scan, man. That is fucking shocking. How the fuck a fella who was supposed to be, this is Kell Brook, who was supposed to be an elite fighter, and you know still has decent skills at 154. And look at his fucking resume: Bizier, Gavin, fucking this guy, DeLuca. Who was the last fella? Rabchenko or whatever the fuck his name was. I don't even know if I'm naming fucking former fucking centre forwards that used to play for Spurs, but they'd probably put up a better performance than fucking Mark DeLuca, man.
Brandon Cook. They tried Brandon Cook. Do you remember?
He was shocking. Adam Smith. Adam Smith and Matthew Macklin want to be ashamed of themselves last night. Oh, he's gritty. He's brave. He's fucking going backwards and cowering into the ropes and fucking.
Hey Rob, seriously though,
not to get stopped for fuck's sake.
Rob, respect to Bean for mentioning the stabbing. That was good work from Bean.
That was prime Bean though. Like, that's just when he's on one, like, isn't it? We'll never forget when he got stabbed in the leg, possibly in a unrequited love situation, but we won't go into that. It's for another day. But
I liked it when he said DeLuca wants to take Brook into, what is it, dark places or something, and I thought, what, is he going to book an EasyJet to Tenerife or something?
But like, how are they selling this as a main event? That is absolutely disgraceful. That's nearly worse than one of the fucking YouTube cards. That is. Where did they get your man? Like, if he had
Rob, come on now. You're being a little bit over the top on this shit.
I am on my ass.
I mean, it wasn't good. I'm not going to sit there and tell you it was a...
If he turned up as an opponent for Jake
Paul...
Fucking
hell, this is not that bad.
If he turned up as an opponent for Jake Paul, he wouldn't be able to place... He wouldn't be able to play. Based on that showing last night, if he turned up on it as an opponent for Jake Paul, that guy, Mark DeLuca, wouldn't be able to place. Brook didn't even look sharp last night. He was missing... He was landing... he was coming in over the top of the guy's head. Now, I know he's awkward, but he looked like a novice fighter. He looked like a fucking novice fighter, and it took 7 rounds to get the job done. And then what do you have? Liam Smith sitting ringside.
No, absolutely Liam Smith. Not. Horrible.
Don't forget, we got this big British cast that we all wanted to see. Liam Smith is next for the WBO route. You know, tell the truth, Liam. You want the winner of this fight, don't you? Yeah, well, to tell you the truth, I have my eye on Mark DeLuca, but it doesn't look like he's going to come through this one. So let's make the Kell Brook fight. Yeah. Fucking joke. A fucking joke that was.
Can I say something about the WBO route, right? Eddie's playing a game here. He is hoping, if that Patrick Teixeira fight happens, right, okay, it's easily made because the DAZN Golden Boy fights a potential en route for the winner of Smith Brook, but I'm sure Brian Castaño has been called as a mandatory for Teixeira, so he's owned by Al Heyman. So if Castaño beats Teixeira, that means fucking Al Heyman's got that entire division on lockdown, including all belt holders. So what's going to happen with Kell Brook then? He's going to have to go cap in hand to fucking Fox or something like that.
Exactly, cap in hand to Uncle Al, that's the way I like it. Right, Gabe, I believe you were defending DeLuca. Let me bring you in on this then from Terry Woodfine. He wasn't too impressed either, like Rob Kelly. Kell Brook had all the talent in the world. He had an amazing repertoire. He didn't throw one body shot tonight, says Terry. Surely he will need to do this when he moves up in levels at 154. Is DeLuca a move up in levels, Gabe? What do you think?
No, I wasn't defending the choice of opponent here. I agree with Rob that this was not a tremendous opponent. This was not a tremendous show card overall. I mean, actually, I saw most of the card, I think. But What I'm saying is, the guy's been off for 14 months, so you're gonna go on a big spell about this card and about Brook's opponent after he's been out for 14 months. But this is what we see from top name fighters whenever they've been out of the ring for a long time. So the shit that Brook gets specifically on this show
is justified.
Is overdone. No, you're absolutely wrong.
You're saying that because you hate Amir Khan. And you always expect Brook to fucking ice him, which I expect Brook to beat Khan, but you can't defend that shit, man. He's been fucking doing it his whole career. He's got one good win, and even that was a close decision.
No, you're absolutely fucking wrong. Absolutely wrong. There's no...
Right, who is his other better win then? He's got Sean Porter as a top-level win, and after that, his best win's probably Funtime Frankie Gavin or Matthew...
Carson Jones too.
Yeah, someone
Go
like
on, Gabe.
that.
Let him in then.
Okay,
let me in.
You tell me what has been better for Khan since his Maidana win than what.
There you go then. So you have an agenda.
No, tell me exactly what it is. Because he hasn't beat anybody. Nobody. You're wrong.
You have an agenda against Amir Khan. That is why you're on the defensive about Kell Brook's career. It's blatantly obvious that.
No, see, you're the one that brought that up. I didn't mention that at all. I was mentioning the stick that he gets constantly, and I feel like it's not really justified because he hasn't really had that terrible of a career. Yeah, it's not a shining example.
What are his top 3 wins?
But at the same time, it makes no sense to be slagging the guy off just because he hasn't fought all the people that you would like to have seen him fight.
But he's not fought a top 10 opponent bar Sean Porter. After that, it's all rubbish. Kevin Bizier, Frankie Gavin, which was pay-per-view, an awful fight. Jojo Dan. Sorry, the only other 2 top 10s he fought was Errol Spence. Great fight. It was a mandatory, and he got beat, and he stepped up to 160 in a stupid decision to fight Gennady Golovkin. His career at 147 has been nothing short of an embarrassment. He's been poorly managed, in my opinion, and his dad is to blame for this because his dad sticks his oar in and has, I think, in my opinion, has jeopardised a number of fights for him. He came through domestic level at a breeze. He had a rocky moment against Carson Jones 1, which then the penny dropped for a minute. He brought a dietitian in, etc., things like that, and he battered Jones in the rematch. He then stepped up again, beats I think it was Senchenko, and then he got a great win on the road against Sean Porter. After that, his title reign was horrendous, absolutely horrendous. He fought 2 mandatories. He fought Frankie Gavin, moaned that he couldn't get the big fights. By all accounts, and from what a lot of people say, he had the best promoter in the world, and the biggest fight he had signed up for was against Diego Chavez prior, and then he had no choice but to take the Golovkin fight because he was crying out for a big name. And that fight, in my opinion, put pay to anything going further because it destroyed him. I mean, his eye was a complete mess. He then went from Golovkin going up to 160, back down to 147. We all know he's tight at the weight, so I think that took a lot out of him. Against Errol Spence, he put in a great performance, but was broken down. And again, what happened? His orbital bone went again. He has broken both orbital bones, and I put it down to that 160 fight there. He's then come back, he changed trainers, he balloons up and things like that. Kell Brook is his worst enemy, as is his dad. So his career has been so underwhelming. He lacks big names, and it's only now from what if he beats Liam Smith, I tell you now, if he beats Liam Smith, that is his second best win on his career, on his record, in my opinion. I don't think that's a bad fight for me. I would like to see that. I think that's a good fight. For where Brook is at this stage in his career, I think Brook against Liam Smith is a good fight. I don't mind that as some sort of eliminator. I would rather see that than bring some random, WBO fake, ranking over or something like that. I think Brook Smith's a good contest. I think Smith could beat Kell Brook. But to say that he's not had... Yeah, he's won a world title, so great. a brilliant achievement. Not many people do that. But Kell Brook could have been so much more, and sadly he's not. He spent too much time chasing Amir Khan, and to his detriment. Khan has had so much more bigger fights, bigger occasions. Yeah, he's not come out and been on, he's not got all the wins, but at the same time, he got in that ring, which is more than Kell Brook has done.
Go on, Rob.
No, sorry, man. I think I unmuted myself by accident. No, I was going to say, like, it's nothing personal against Kell. Like, I don't give a fuck about any of the fighters personality-wise, and I don't have any, like, thing against him per se as a fighter. I thought he was brilliant at 147, and he could have been a whole lot better. I do think he was blown up a little bit at 147 too. But a win over Sean Porter, in retrospect, is a very good win. Tight fight, but Sean Porter gives everybody a tight fight. So, let's not forget, like, Kellerman and all these boys, everyone in the States was purring about Kell Brook. They all thought he was the future of the 147 division. And it's just, it's kind of sad to see it panning out like this. Like, I don't want to see Kell Brook fighting DeLuca, and I'm talking solely about that fight as just a pure mismatch. All right, he's off for 14 months, but what's he really done at 154 since he was active there? He was active too, like, and hasn't fought anybody. He was putting the 154 division on notice. Eddie Hearn said he's the best 154 pounder in the world. What 154 pounder has he fought to say that he's the best 154 pounder in the world?
That was after Rabchenko they said that.
Shocking. Sorry, Gabe, I didn't want to fucking lambaste you there. You can love Kell Brook if you want to. He can love you back. It's not.
No. Don't try to revert it back and make it sound like it's something that it's not. Because although I do think Kell Brook has underwhelmed, as has been said in some ways, I think that he gets a lot of shit whenever a lot of the things that have happened in his career aren't necessarily things that he had a ton of control over. I mean, you're talking about the same issue with him not getting big fights that you talk about with Rigondeaux not getting big fights. I mean, he's got a few because there was nowhere else for guys to go where somebody actually had the balls to step up and face him. I mean, is it Rigondeaux?
I think that's a loose analogy.
Never fought him.
You had the two best guys in the division openly ducking Rigondeaux at one stage. Quiga and Frampton or whatever were both saying, we'd like to fight him, but he doesn't really bring a whole lot of money to the table. Santa Cruz moved up so he wouldn't have to fight him. Nobody wanted to fight Rigondeaux. He was the boogeyman because nobody.
So why didn't they fight Brook?
Dude, like the Amir Khan one, I would agree with you. I think Amir Khan feels like Brook has his number, and a lot of people say that are close to Khan say he doesn't want to give him the payday because he just doesn't like him. I think Amir Khan could lose to fucking Jimmy Cricket and he could take it, but if he lost to Kell Brook, he couldn't handle it. I do believe that. So I would say
what my point is.
There's a lot of fighters. Amir Khan's not the only fighter in the world.
Hang on, one time.
Are not all on him specifically, and looking at his career in retrospect, which is what we're doing here, is okay. Saying, well, it's all his fault that none of these things happened for him. Yeah,
no, I'm not saying it's his fault, but I'm saying we have to judge him.
At the same time,
on the fights he's had.
Say again.
I'm not saying it's all his fault or whatever, but you're saying all right, Amir Khan ducked him. So Amir Khan's not the only fighter in the world. There's King Thurman at 47. There's all the PBC guys he had access to. There's 54 pound. When Jared Hurd was the champion, he wasn't calling out Jared Hurd, was he? But he's the best 154 pounder in the world. Come on, no.
But it's the same. It's the same thing. It's not just Khan. There's been a whole list of 147 fighters that wouldn't get in the ring with them.
I don't believe that, dude. I don't believe that any of the PBC 47.
Why would they get in the ring with Amir Khan and not him? What makes that so much more?
But who said that though, dude? They said they were looking for Crawford too. Where did the offer come for Crawford? Did they make him an offer? You know what I mean?
I have no clue.
No, it's a combination of a lot of people's fault. I think Ozzy touched on it. His dad seems to have a big influence. He doesn't seem to be the best decision maker. I mean, everybody knows you charge a gun and you run from a knife. So I'm not saying he's not the best decision maker himself, but at the end of the day, when they close the book on, if they were to close the book on Brook now, and he had to retire, say for orbital bone reasons or whatever, he's under delivered for a guy with his talent.
Agree.
That's a completely fair statement. I mean, I do think that he had the potential to take over the 147 division if he hadn't moved up, and if things had maybe gone a little bit differently, kind of in the semi-retirement phase of Floyd and Manny, where they're fighting less and less frequently before Manny came to the PBC and all these kind of things. I mean, yeah, there are some very obvious shortcomings in his career, but to slag him off like is constantly done, I don't think that's accurate, because I think the guy has had all the physical things that you could want and a good boxing IQ, which could have made him one of the top dogs at 147, and he couldn't get those fights. So he moves.
So 14 months out.
14
months out, and the best opponent they can get for him is Mark DeLuca. Marky.
Yes.
Marky.
I don't know.
They could have put the rest of the funky punch in there with Marky Mark last night, and it would have made a difference. It was a fucking mismatch.
I think he wanted to quit. I don't think he wanted to box anymore, Gabe. I think that Eddie's sort of dangled the car and carrot again, or Liam Smith or whatever, to keep him going. We can make a few quid out of you still. Don't hang them up just yet. I don't think his heart's in it. The penny's dropped at 34, that he's got to diet and get down to weight. Jesus Christ. It took a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, that's the guy who wanted to rock out with his cock out and end up fucking meeting a blade.
Yeah.
It's just bad decision making. His dad, you say, I've said it before, for the arguments on Twitter about this, the Amir Khan fight was there for him to sign. And then at the last second, they came in and wanted more money. Right at the moment they're going to sign the fucking contract, he comes in and says he wants more money. Fight off. So he had his opportunity. I know he's pissing about, as you say, Rabchenko, he's out for 14 months. Why is he out for 14 months? There's no injury. So why is he not coming back fighting like Julian Williams? Try to get him maybe like say fight with Castano, then he'd become mandatory to Teixeira, or fight a Charlo or something like that. Instead of fighting fucking Mark DeLuca, and surprised if I fucking pulled in some other fucking trash, but guys like I don't know, some of the Ukrainian boys, maybe Eggington, for example, Carlos Adams, fucking hell. But that's the thing as well, he breezed through domestic level, becomes world champion, and ends up fighting Frankie Gavin. That's a domestic area, that's a domestic fight, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, I agree, and you got to remember, Gavin...
Ducked one-time Joaquinho as well, let's not forget that. Didn't want any part of one-time Joaquinho. Had to send him back. He had to go back to Tanzania or Zimbabwe or wherever. He didn't get his chance. Who next?
Go on, Ozzy.
I've said it. Look, I've said all I think we've all said what we need to say about Kell Brook, and I don't think anyone can disagree that his career has been a major disappointment for the talent he has. As I touched on before, he's won a world title. Not many fighters do that. It was a legit win, a top win, away from home in Sean Porter's backyard. You have got to give him full credit for that whatsoever. But it was after that. I don't think Hearn's done a great job with him, to be honest. As I say, his dad, in inverted commas, sticks his oar in too much because it's greed from his perspective. I mean, as Andy said, that fight was done. And it says it all when your promoter is saying that Kell needs to take the shorter side of the split to ensure this fight goes ahead. Hearn was coming out saying, I think we're there, and then they put the curveball in again, saying they want more money. And it all comes down to cash. If you beat Amir Khan, you can go and get, there could be a rematch, you go and get a truckload more money as well. But it's always been the problem. I mean, look what he said about Liam Smith. I'll fight Liam Smith if they pay me, if they pay me top whack 7 figures. And straight away he's just chuck it. He just wants massive paydays now. I mean, that wouldn't have been a payday last night. I can see why they brought Mark DeLuca in. It had a ranking belt. It's not a great fight whatsoever. He was tough. He gave Brook some rounds. But for a guy who was bang average, he landed at times on Kell Brook as well, and he did land a couple of big shots. He just didn't have that power, that really to harm Brook whatsoever. But from what Brook has said, he's getting back in that gym on Monday, and he wants to be fighting in 3 months. So the ball is in his promoter's court now. Let's see Kell Brook get back out again, and let's step up big time. I'm just looking at these WBO rankings now. You've got Hamza Shiraz at 15, not happening. You've got Imani Colombo from the Congo, who's WBO Africa champion.
Colombo on the case.
Yep, there's a chance we could see him. We're not going to see him fight Tim Tszyu, Takeshi Inoue, Jack Kulkai, whatever. I
think Tim Tszyu's fighting Zerafa, Ozzy. Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, right, okay. So that rules him. I mean, I couldn't see that happening anyway, but a potential fight with Jack Kulkai. I'll tell you what would be a good one for him if they can't make, for example, Liam Smith. Sergio Garcia, the European champion. You know, the Spaniard that came over.
Oh, yeah, he's pretty good, yeah.
I think that would be another decent fight. Garcia's fought over here before.
Tim Tszyu not fighting Jeff Horn, though, no?
Yeah, that's agreed, yeah.
Oh, Horn, sorry, not Zerafa, sorry. All them Australian white boys look the same to me.
Yeah. So I would go with I think someone like a Garcia would be great as well. I think it'd be decent. So let's judge. Let's see what comes next. But should we go on to the undercard, Stephen?
Yeah. Let me just say one final thing on that situation. I don't mind seeing Brook fight Smith. Now, this isn't for comment because, like I said, we need to move on. But I don't mind seeing Brook fight Smith. I don't mind him having his paydays, his little UK domestic retirement tour. But stop telling me he's the best at 154. Stop mentioning Lara. Stop mentioning Charlo. Stop mentioning Hurd and all these guys. Never going to fight them. He's going to fight Liam Smith, have a bit of payday, have a bit of retirement money. That's fine. Stop bullshitting me and telling me he's the best at the weight. He's nowhere near the best at the weight, and he hasn't fought anybody who's good at the weight. So fuck off with that. That's my opinion on that. Ozzy, undercard, Terry Harper against Eve.
Wait, hold on. Did anybody see the Velez fight on the? I think we kind of maybe Velez and Arboleda.
No, I didn't see it. Anything involving Velez in 2020, Gabe, should be left well alone. Go on, give me a verdict.
I thought it was a really good fight. I know that we talked about the Russell Jr. fight and the Rigondeaux fight, and Velez and Arboleda, or however the fuck did you say his name, was actually a really good fight. So if anybody wants to go back to that card and see, I think the best fight of the evening, to be honest with you, that was probably the best fight of the card. I didn't see any of the untelevised portion of the undercard, or if it was on Show Extreme, I didn't catch it. But it was actually a tremendous fight, really close. And I thought Jason Velez won that fight. I had him, I think it was even going into the last. No. I had him down by a point going into the last round. So with a knockdown in the final round, he actually won the fight by a point. But I felt like it was pretty clear to score. I don't know, maybe it was just me, since none of you other guys saw the fight. Then maybe that's a different topic for a different day. But really good fight. If anybody hasn't seen it and you're looking for a good one from the weekend, that would be a solid one to watch.
Nice one, Gabe. Thank you very much. Ozzy, on to the undercard over in Sheffield. Yeah, I was going to say Terry Harper unified her IBO title with Eva Wallstrom's WBC. Harper did pretty well. Can't be doing with the 2-minute rounds, though. Turns everything into a frenzy. Wallstrom was too small. For my reckoning, Anthony Tomlinson didn't see him beating Stuart Burt. Dave Allen, supposedly up to no good. Few shenanigans against this Dorian Darch character. And Martin J. Ward, I liked Macklin struggling at the end to try and justify why Martin J. Ward deserves a world title shot now after defeating this Jesus Amperan. Now, I actually liked Ward when he first came through, but the sense of entitlement, I'm going off on a tangent here, is just, you know, there's a press release come through the week, Martin J. Ward, finally I'm going to get my world title shot, as if he's been held back like Marvin Hagler for 10 years or something. You know, finally Martin J. Ward, I'll say, he's going to get this world title shot now that he's been craving for. Well, the last I saw him, he was getting knocked out by James Tennyson, so probably that's why he didn't get a world title shot. Anyway, go ahead.
Oh, brutal stuff. This is brutal stuff, Steve. I mean, he'll be going to court next to try and get a world title fight like Hagler. Oh, brilliant stuff.
Steve, you're 100% spot on. I heard him say this, and it's my time and things like that, so I thought, right, I'll look at his record, and since getting knocked out off James Tennyson, he comes back against Mohamed Kambaluta, wins. He then gets a split decision win over Defish Boschiero. I think he's about 40 in Italy. I think the cards were a bit tighter than it should be expected. But then wins over 6-19 and 8 Antonio Rodriguez. Josue Bendana 10-12 and 4. And Jesus Amperan 16 and 1. And yep, you should be at the front of the queue for a world title shot. No, you shouldn't. And again, it's this sense of entitlement from British fighters that they deserve world title shots. No, they don't whatsoever. Go and get a couple of good wins, and then you can be in the reckoning. Not knocking out... I mean, who the fuck was even that Amperan last night? He was brought in at relatively short notice. That does not mean you deserve a world title shot. And it's so frustrating to hear now that British fighters, and it is the British thing to do now. You get a couple of wins against, like these padded records. Exactly what Prince Patel did and things like that. You step up, you get beat. Because you have not had that grounding. I mean, to be fair, Ward did come through the levels, but then he got ironed out off James Tennyson. He's not gone away and improved or anything like that. He's just fought fighters that he's there to beat. So he's a long way off a title shot, in my opinion. It was a shame Tomlinson Burt wasn't on Sky. That was a British eliminator, I think, that. Dave Allen, Dorian Darch, fucking hell, well, what a shambles. Darch should not be allowed to box again. He just gave up. I mean, I think he's lost his last 8 or 9 fights, all by stoppage. He should not be allowed to fight again. I mean, his nickname is Dark Fruits, so that says it all, really. He just needs to prop up a bar now, piss off, and shouldn't be allowed in a ring again.
What's his nickname?
Dorian Dark Fruits Darch. It's after the Strongbow drink.
What is he, a fucking Ribena? That's the worst boxing nickname.
Did you say Dark Fruit? What are you
fruits?
Dark Fruit?
Fucking
You need to get him in Gerald Washington, man. The Black Cock.
Strange fruit, that one.
How would Dark Fruits match up with the chocolate brownies? That's what I want to know.
And the vanilla ice cream. What a shit banner he's got, eh?
Dark Fruits, man.
Gabe's fucking defending him for that banter, too.
We came from an era where we had the Dark Destroyer, now we've got Dark Fruits. Oh my god.
It says it all.
Is it only like black currants and fucking dark grapes?
So,
what is this nickname about?
so the morning of the fight, most fighters will eat whatever, porridge, stuff like that. Dorian Darch is in the hotel cafe, smashing a massive breakfast which consisted of about 3 hash browns, couple of eggs, 3 sausage, 3 bacon, beans, mushrooms. So great preparation going into his fight.
Sounds amazing, that, by we just knew you mentioned all that. Right, that
some dark fruit squash.
It's great if you're not going into a professional boxing fight.
Yeah.
But he was. And he claimed that he needed to put some weight on. Thinking, what? You're a heavyweight. What are you doing? Anyway, Harper, Wallstrom. Women's boxing just doesn't do it for me. It's not. I know it's not all about knockouts.
You're a hater.
But it just doesn't. It's not. It's
all
just
about
not
fans.
me. But yeah, I thought Harper boxed well at times. I mean, fair play to her. Great achievement. She did a lot of tickets. I think she's only from a little village in Yorkshire, so good on her. And Kid Galahad he's a difficult.
Oh yeah, I forgot about him. Sorry.
Yeah, do you know he boxed he boxed really well. It was a good win last night from Galahad. He's got an awkward style. I think he's quite. He certainly bends the rules as much as he can. I think a more lenient referee can certainly nip it in the bud. But it was an excellent win.
He's a good fighter, you know. He's actually a good fighter, Galahad.
He is. I tell you what, if you look at him, he's not got many negatives. You know, he doesn't do anything particularly bad. I won't say he's, outstanding at one particular thing, but he's a well-rounded, schooled fighter. And I still say now, the fight against Warrington was a coin flip. And it just depends what you like. I've seen a lot of people score it for Josh. A lot of people score it for Galahad. And it's a mandatory that, to be honest, nobody wants to see Warrington Galahad again because it was a garbage fight. But at the same time, he's in that position now, and he's not an easy night's work for anybody whatsoever. So that was a good win by Kid Galahad. But overall, I think this was the first Sky card of the year. Very, very disappointing. Lacked any real quality. It was the return of Kell Brook, but as we said, it wasn't a great opponent. Galahad, again, does he really draw the numbers? Is he one that you'd rather, you urge to see? Probably not. Harper, Wallstrom. I mean, we saw more of Terry Harper's bit on the side than we did the fight. Adam Smith loved that story. He was dubbing it Terry Harper's Missus a real character. I'm thinking, how the fuck does he know about Terry Harper's Missus? She only
was in such a class.
Ago.
She's RAF, yeah.
So fuck me.
She gurgles Strongbow for mouthwash, that woman.
Yeah. So overall, it wasn't the best of cards by any means. But the one thing's for sure is nobody will forget Dorian Dartfruit's Dart. There
you go. Andy, Turtle and Bears thrown in a question which perfectly moves us on from what Ozzy was saying there. In between next-gen shows and box office, what's the future standard of Saturday fight nights? Are we to expect a constant diet of 70-30 fights plus women's boxing? Brook versus Smith is a brilliant Saturday night fight. Where will that end up? That's Des, Turtle and Bear, Andy, asking you.
It's been like that for years now, isn't it? Every decent competitive so-called 50-50 fight was on pay-per-view. And as he says, there's 70-30 fights, sometimes even 80-20 fights end up on Saturday fight nights. And as he says, we're almost 6 weeks into the year. That's the first card, and it's not great. It was actually deplorable. I'm not going to get into all the previous cards in the past stuff, but even before everything had to go on pay-per-view or before this TV deal, it's just went right down the swanny, just bit by bit. I don't know if it's because of the cutbacks at Sky and that. I know there's been some kind of change in the programming and stuff, but it's been shit now for, I want to say, the best part of 2 years, 3 years, kind of like the actual regular Sky shows. As I say, anything competitive ends up on pay-per-view, or what seems to be happening with some of the Eddie Hearn fighters and that now, especially with this new contract, as he's been taking them to America or taking them to Italy. I don't know what's happened with this German deal yet, but that's where they'll end up going. So wherever the money is, that's what it's going to. I mean, we've been hearing Eddie talking about, like, for example, the Joshua Pulev fight. He's like, there's not a lot of money in that fight to get made in the UK, but Josh was willing to take a pay cut. I'm like, oh, fucking great. I'm really pleased he's willing to take a pay cut. A guy who gets £20 million a fight, he's taking a pay cut for the fans. So I think that probably kind of tells you as to where the market is at the minute. Maybe Eddie's just, he's took his eye off the ball a wee bit. He's trying to get things going in America, and he's not really doing it really well over there either. Because if you look at some of the cards he's put on in America, it pretty much resembles what we used to get here on a Saturday night when he was still kind of interested in the market over here and that. So I wouldn't expect anything to be picking up anytime soon. As I says, anything competitive goes in behind the paywall.
Rob, help us down the money trail here. Terry Woodfine is asking you specifically. Anyone know where all this DAZN money is? Liam Smith and Billy Joe Saunders have just moved from Warren to Hearn for the quote-unquote big fights. Smith's now begging for Brook for no title, and Saunders fought once in 21 months on a fucking YouTube bill. Where's the DAZN money, Rob?
Canelo's made his way to the bank with all the DAZN money. AJ's got a good chunk of it. And the rest is being divvied up, but they've got to see some dividends now, and they've got to get return on investment. It was a short-term plan for them to get market share, and now they're trying to sustain that with retention of subscriptions. Now you hear Eddie talk a lot about churn these days. So what they're experiencing is people sign up for the month to watch Canelo and then cancel the next month. Same with the YouTube.
Churn with Hearn.
Churn with Hearn, exactly. Eddie Churn. Rachel, I didn't think of that myself. But what you're getting is getting the same with the YouTube, big surge in the subscriptions, but they're cancelling the next rate because they're not, like Eddie is trying to tell you, as much as he's trying to sell it to you, that they're going to become lifetime boxing fans and this is good for the sport. The evidence is showing that that's not the case, that they're only interested in lads who record themselves 24/7. So I don't know. It's a difficult model to sustain. People would have been suspect about it when those kind of numbers were thrown around. I mean, Canelo, like, even as big as a star as he is to us as boxing fans, is he that? Like, he's the highest paid athlete in the sport now, which is, I think, making him the highest paid athlete in sports, where there's some astronomical millions deal. Like, are they going to see that money back on just Canelo on monthly subscriptions, especially when you have fucking a landscape devoid of a super fight for him? Where's the money going to come from? So, I think DAZN have been successful in other markets and they're working it out, and they are going to hang around Are they going to hang around in boxing with these kind of? We'll have to see the figures and see what the losses are like. But like certainly, like if you're paying the likes of Tevin Farmer, if you're overpaying the likes of Tevin Farmer and these guys, like you know, yeah, there's something wrong somewhere. But yeah, Boo Andrade, exactly. Well, B. But like seriously, like there's, you know, if you're overpaying the likes of these fellas, the same as what's happening on PBC. But then they said that about PBC too. PBC, all the Heyman detractors at the time said that this was a flawed model and the PBC couldn't sustain and they were going to have to sell. But somehow 5 years later they're still here and they become like more of a regular fixture since HBO kicked the bucket. So the future's in streaming. I'd like to see DAZN succeed. I like the concept of it. Like we said last week, fuck it. I mean, I paid for Box Nation for years, so if there was subscription boxing available where I had a clear stream, I didn't have to fucking piss about looking for streams of fights or pay the 20 quid, fight patties that you have where you end up paying the fucking, and the fellas come over and don't fucking pay towards this kind of shit. If I just had access to loads of fights, I'd pay for it if it was here, no doubt about it. I'm not going to say just because Eddie Hearn's involved I wouldn't pay for it. DAZN, the concept of streaming on a Netflix type service appeals to me big time. But I think, Hearn's apples and pears, isn't he? Like, we all know what he is. Like, he'd fucking tell you anything. Like, he'd say anything. Like, to say like that fucking Mark DeLuca was, going to come and hang in there and people should do the research about these fighters before they fucking shut the fuck up, man. We know what we're watching. Like, do you know what I mean? So it hasn't really worked out for him. He hasn't got the big names on DAZN apart from Joshua are not his, really. You know what I mean? You've got like Ryan Garcia coming up. He's with Golden Boy. You've got Canelo for the moment is with Golden Boy. So he hasn't really got a say in the big money fights. And as much as he's dangling the Canelo carrot anywhere, every fucking fighter around 154 to 175, he hasn't really got the power to make a fucking Canelo fight. So I don't know. Will they hang in there with him as well? I presume they're going to end up coming to the UK market. I presume that it'll be the end of the sky at some stage that they're going to try and make a move over here. Like, if they're serious on ROI for the likes of Joshua and all that as well, I'd say they're going to make a big play for the UK at some stage.
Sounds like Hurricane Kira's catching up with you there, Rob. It's not Hurricane Kira's, not some X.
Actually, it is, They've all got better nicknames than Dark Fruits, but on the mad side, like Mad Dog, plenty of them. Fucking, it's not that windy.
When Hurricane Linda and Hurricane Siobhan come catching up with you in that field, Rob, you'll be in for it.
Won't be the first time. Right.
Rapping Rob Kelly there. Out in the fields of Wexford, Gabe's with us too. Ozzy, Andy and me, Steve, episode 359. Let's move on, shall we? Gabe, Ryan Deal over on patreon.com/Boxing Asylum has said to you, Gabe, shall we have a Boxing Asylum fundraiser for old AB, a children in need kind of thing, where we'll throw a few quid in? Oh, come on, man. AB, he's having a rough time, Gabe. Cut him some slack.
Yeah, he can get fucked for all I give a shit. I think Rob maybe. I'm not sure. Maybe I know somebody. I feel like it was somebody on the show today, just this past week, sometime during the week, I believe, posted a picture of this scumbag after begging for money at a strip club, throwing money away. Does anyone know who that was? I thought it was someone here. I don't know. Maybe I'm fucking wrong, but I swear to God, somebody posted a video.
I think it was Andy. I think, wasn't it? Yeah, he was back in the script club this week.
Yeah.
He was.
And we saw like a screenshot, right, of some guy that sent him $1,000.
Yeah, the fucking moron. Give that fella our Patreon link.
Are you fucking kidding me?
The $1,000.
Hey, if anybody's thinking of donating to Adrien Broner, we'd love to have half that donation sent to us. So we're not even asking for as much as Broner is. Just send us half of it. We'd be more than happy to have it.
Exactly. He said, didn't he DM someone? Was it Eddie Hearn this week? Had said that if you give him 20 million, he'd make 35 and fight Devin Haney. So he's really putting it out there for the bread at the moment.
What is the deal with this guy? Is he really that broke, or is this all just like some big funny joke? Or I mean, I'm actually a little bit slightly confused at it, because at first I thought maybe he is struggling a little bit, but he, and then now he's getting donations, but then he's going to the strip club, and then he's asking for money still. It makes absolutely no sense. I don't know. I'm kind of puzzled on the whole thing, to be honest with you. I'm thinking about maybe donating just to make sure that he's okay. I mean, I would, donate money to whatever worthy cause. I fucking, put money in the little boxes at the fucking station. So why not send to AB?
I think people sometimes they forget like that, they see a fighter get 10 million or whatever it is for the fight, and while it's still a huge amount of money, they got to pay half of that back in taxes. Then they got to pay their sparring partners, they got to pay their coach, everybody's getting a cut, the manager's getting a cut.
The nutritionist.
And unless you're getting like big back end money, and as well, if you're living like that, like you're running around in Bugattis and Bentleys and fucking paying out civil fees, and you got 9 kids and shit like that, like. Fucking, if you're spending more than you're earning, baby, you're going to be in money trouble. That's it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're going to have to fight twice a year just to make sure that you can take care of yourself. Because the first fight, all the money's going to those 9 kids. The second fight, you might get to keep half of that for yourself, and then you're talking about by the time it's all ended up and done, what, $45,000? I don't know. I mean, it's fucking crazy. I think we got too far serious on this conversation. But to answer the question for our viewer, if you'd like to donate, we would love to have donations. You can subscribe to the Patreon account.
He is already in the Patreon. That's where he sent the message.
That's right, because he asked the question. Sorry about that. So if you want to throw an extra donation, so we can guarantee an answer for your question for the next 3 weeks, or some kind of fucking. I'll let Steve make up some bullshit for you that you can pay for. I mean, we'll actually give you something if you donate for us.
Some bullshit for you that you can pay for. You're really selling it there.
I'm a wheeler and a dealer. Let's make something happen.
Gabe, bringing these fucking dry. I like to hear it. Andy, back to the boxing action over in Germany on Saturday night. Clear the situation up for me. Firat Arslan got knocked out by Kevin Lerena. IBO World Cruiserweight title was on the line, which I'm a fan of. Lerena stopping Arslan in the 6th round. He's now entitled, Andy, to a shot at the interim Panamanian Cruiserweight champion, Rihad Merhi. So a win here for Lerena has lined him up for a shot at the interim champion. Tell us more.
Yeah, it was pretty dominant. I think it lasted... 5 rounds, I think it was. I noticed 6 rounds. I noticed the fight result wasn't up in box record before we went live there, but you say 49, 50-year-old, and he got clipped with a left hand. There was a slight kind of delay, and the legs just went to jelly. He's backed up into the corner with the high hands like he usually does, and Larenas just went right into him and just teed off and forced the referee to stop the fight. Funny enough that there's folks saying it was a kind of premature stoppage. I don't think it was, because if you look at down in kind of slow motion and that, it was really quite cutely done by Lerena. He did that kind of Lomachenko move where he uses his free hand or his lead hand to bring down the guard and then ping the left hand home, and it just got Arslan all covered up and stuff. He never responded. That was the thing. Usually the kind of maybe the ref might let it go on, but the end of the day as well, it's I don't really want to put a lot of stock into it, to be honest. The guy's almost 50, as I says. Arslan, he's coming up that kind of back route. He's coming off that, obviously the situation with the drugs as well. He's a kind of 15 world champion and that, so he will get his shot at the Belgian, who I think will probably. I think it might be a decent fight, that actually, because it's 2 guys similar on the same level. But there's no really kind of a lot of stock he can put into that fight, because he beat him up and battered him badly. So. As I says, in the end, I'm just reading a comment there actually. Apparently the corner threw in the towel. Right. So apparently that's the reason for the premature stoppage. So people might want to go back and recheck that. But as I says, it was a cute finish. I would say they kind of tie up the left hand like that, just to kind of bring down the guard and that. I like that shot. It shows a wee bit of ring intelligence, but there's a lot of thought you can put into that.
Yeah, good win for Lerena, but the corner need to be thrown in the pipe and slippers, let alone the towel. It's time Arslan hung the gloves up. Shout out to the guys in the chat. Few faces have joined us. Mark Boxio, Swaggy Taggy, Tosh is there as well. Lee, IFL, Frotch, Gabe's back, which is good news. Rapping Rob Kelly's here with us as well. Ozzy, a couple for you. First of all, before we go on to Josh Kelly, give us a quick word on Anthony Yarde. A few people are snivelling at the fact that he knocked out this Diego Ramirez, who's got 48 losses in the second round over in Spain. But it's just a keep busy fight after the loss to Kovalev, isn't it? You know, the way Liam Smith did something similar to this, which possibly leads me to believe Frank might have a title shot in the pipeline.
Well, this is the sort of comeback fight, you know, Kell Brook should have been having. High quality opponent, big name, things like that, pay-per-view worthy, and the fact that it wasn't says Yarde is a man of the people. But no, it's exactly that. I think to get around the WBO rules, you can't contest for one of their titles if you are coming off a loss, unless it's, you know, like an immediate rematch in controversial circumstances. So he's fucked off to Spain, got a little 6-round. He's knocked out an absolute pudding. Liam Smith did exactly the same prior to fighting Liam Williams in the second fight for their interim WBO belt. So I wouldn't be shocked, you know, Yarde to appear on the Dubois Joyce card in some sort of intercontinental, international, or even a potential eliminator fight. He's coming off a win, albeit an absolute farce. But it now opens a number of doors for him. And it's going to be interesting to see who they do put Anthony Yarde within. Because it's certainly not going to be somebody of the guy who boxed last night's calibre. And if they are looking at, you know, I mean, I've not got the rankings to hand. But we've shown that he's clearly not a mug. He was not, you know, like massively outclassed against Kovalev. So I would like and I would hope that, you know, they pick a relatively decent opponent for him. I mean, I'm looking at the rankings now. You can rule out Johnson, Buatsi. Is Buatsi still fighting that blade?
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to ask. What's happening with Buatsi? Because
no idea.
I was watching Elite Heavyweight the other night there, actually. I forget who it was. And I'm saying to myself, you know, they're talking to me about potential fights and stuff, you know, progressive fights. Well, what the hell is Buatsi doing? I mean, everybody knows I'm a fan of his, but he's just not doing nothing.
Yeah, I don't know if did he have an injury or something like that. I'm not too sure, but he's just rotting on the sidelines at the moment. I can't even remember his last fight he had, Buatsi, which says it all. And I think he's one of the most talented fighters in that stable.
Was it Conroy? Has he fought since Conroy?
I would hope so. Bloody hell. Because that seems a long time ago, that, and he battered Conroy as well. Because I know he should have been fighting that Cappiero, but it fell through, didn't it? Because Buatsi got injured.
Yeah, Take Aim says it's not happening. Yarde quickly had to go to Spain.
It was that Ryan. He boxed that Ryan Ford who was.
Oh yeah, that's right. That big tough guy. Yeah, the Canadian.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be disappointed if Yarde did fight someone like Cappiero. You know, I don't think it'd be the worst of fights, you know, to realistically come back from. He's ranked 9 in the rankings, so they could certainly get one of these, you know, fringe belts, you know, that would bump the ranking of Yarde up potentially. But it's going to be interesting to see what they do with him next, that's for sure.
Ozzy, pop that Josh Kelly question. I'll come to you in a second. I need to go to Rob quickly because Gazapalooza needs to get this off his chest. Rob, he's having to go about all the big fight announcements and lack of them. Not a bean from Hearn in terms of announcements, just all talks. AJ White, Chisora, all nearly done. Billy Joe Saunders, Smith, probably won't get a big fight till next year. The piss is boiling, says Gazapalooza. Where's all the big fights, Rob?
I don't know. There's only one scheduled for this year, and that's coming up pretty soon. And other than that, depending on the outcome of that, you know, you're not getting AJ in a big fight this year. That's not happening. You're going to get Pulev and you're going to get some other mandatory. You might get Usyk maybe. You're not getting the winner of Fury versus Wilder. I'd say unless Fury knocks him out, or even if Fury knocks him out, the clamour will be for Wilder 3, but only if Fury wins that, I think. So I'd say they could even do it again. And I don't really know, like, fucking, we're not getting Crawford, and you know, it's not all Eddie Hearn's fault. We're not going to get Crawford and Spence either, due to fellas flying out of cars at fucking 150 miles an hour. So it just seems like a pretty fucking shitty landscape for 2020, I'd agree.
There you go, a bit of positivity from Rob going ahead for 2020. Andy, I know you sent me a link to this earlier, but I didn't get a chance to watch Artem Dalakian down at flyweight defeating Josba Perez. Any value this WBA title? Which WBA title was it?
I think it was the secondary one, but I think he's the only title holder. I need to go and check that though. Could be lying about that. He did what he had to do. He was dominant. Boring as well at the same time. It's just one of these moments stuff where he kind of preens at his work, kind of preens and prance it. A wee bit like Naz, but no, was like overly obnoxious with it. But he is very good. He's good movement, good upper body movement, very quick hands, good jab. But you just want to see a wee bit more. You want to see we can like close the show a wee bit. I've never seen the guy he's been fighting before, actually, to be honest. I think he's a Venezuelan or whatever it was, but I just wanted to see a wee bit extra. But end of the day, as I say, it's going to set up the Luis Concepcion fight, I think, which I can probably just segue into that. Steve, he had in Panama on Friday night, he beat that Robert Barrera, who actually had beat the guy that Dalakan had fought last night as well on points.
You weren't happy about this Concepcion fight, were you?
Yeah, because it was just because he's ranked like something like 8th with the Panamanians. He's a Panamanian himself, so he gets an interim world title fight. And lo and behold, he looked good in doing it, I must admit. Twice now I've wrote him off. I wrote him off before. I think it was the Kalya 5 fight. I wrote him off about this fight as well. So off the back of it, any fighter who's willing to stand in the pocket and trade with him, he's going to look great and look fantastic winning the fight. Now he says he was very good on Friday night, banging away and finally got stoppage in the 11th round. But I think if that fight happens with Dalakan, he might have his moments, but I think ultimately he's going to get really outboxed and probably lose widely on the cards and stuff. And that might be the end of him by that point, or Concepcion might get to trade on this interim title bollocks for a wee bit, because, as I say, Dalakan hasn't been the most active of champions either. So, but who knows? The Panamanians might force the issue, seeing as they've created this new world champion as well at the weight. So wait and see. But I would say off the back of it, if you're going to watch any of those two fights between Concepcion and Dalakan, I'd watch the Concepcion fight.
Thanks for that, Andy. Question for you, Gabe. Flowing thick and fast from patreon.com/boxing asylum. Gabe, Taylor versus Ramirez for all the belts at 140 is the fight I want to see in 2020, says Joe Kennedy, friend of the pod. Do you, Gabe, think we'll see it this year, or will Josh Taylor versus Jose Ramirez get some of Uncle Bob's marinating treatment?
I don't know. That's a really good question. I'd love the fight too, personally. When is Taylor's next fight scheduled?
He's going to fight that Kong Sang, isn't he? They were talking about sometime maybe March or April. Samson originally won the purse bids, then he realised he hadn't got any money, so I think Bob is actually going to promote it now. Possibly sometime early April, late March.
I don't know. It'll be pretty close, I think, for that fight to happen this year, because he's going to take the fight, take some time off, but it doesn't really leave him with much time to have 2 full camps, I would think, and 2 fights. So possibly if he goes back in and gets a really quick turnaround, if that fight goes well, no cuts, no injuries, anything like that, take a real quick, maybe mandatory or something like that, and then have that fight. Could be possible to see that fight later in the year. But Bob Arum is so kind of unpredictable at times, because he could do things a lot of times, but he just chooses not to, a la the marination tactic. I just really don't know. I think it would be a tremendous fight either way. So, my thought process is I wouldn't want to lose out on that potential money that would be generated from that. And then also, too, I don't know. It seems to me like maybe it wouldn't be one of the necessarily biggest, I don't want to say it, not that it's not a big fight, because I think anybody that watches boxing would like it. So I guess what I'm trying to say is maybe at that particular point in time that we're at, I don't know that it will happen. I mean, I feel like it should. I really do feel like it should. And it wouldn't bother me at all to see it right away. But being 140 and the guys that... I don't know how familiar people are with Josh Taylor here. I got to be honest with you. I mean, I feel like people here in the States know Jose Ramirez a bit. I feel like Josh Taylor is still maybe a little bit relatively unknown on a larger scale. So the marination process would be a potential here to build up Josh Taylor a little bit more before they have that fight. But, I mean, either way, he's going to make money. Aram's going to make money. It's going to be Ramirez or Taylor. So having somebody unify all 4 belts, and then you could probably have a fucking rematch clause between the 2 of them. I mean, why wouldn't you want to do that and do it again? And then you know beyond any shadow of a doubt that your guy is the man. I mean, that would be really fun to me to see all 4 of those titles get unified. I can't think of a better fight right now for either one of those guys. So I really don't have a good answer, but certainly good fight. Don't know if it'll happen.
There you go, Joe. Yeah, Andy's away for a piss break, but he just alerted me there before he went to a fight taking place soon. Carlos Ortega is contesting the WBA gold title down at strawweight.
I'm back, Chief, just as you're talking there, but holy Christ.
If you think these guys are taking the piss...
I hope you fucking die.
Panamanians on that Panamanian card were fighting for Panamanian titles. Fucking 10 of them. We're talking females as well. We're talking feather Latin belts. We're talking feather ball belts. We're talking gold belts. Inter belts. Fucking shit.
A gold title at strawweight.
Fedo Central belts. Fedo Central.
Did they do the fecal box belts?
That didn't make an appearance this time, mate. Oh, sorry, here's another one. The Fede Cabri belt as well. Fuck.
Clenbuterol belt.
Oh, uranium belt coming in next year, I think.
Oh man, shameless bastards. Right, Ozzy, moving on quickly. Who was it threw this question in? It was Paul Massingham talking about Josh Kelly's announced fight against Avanesian. Could well see Josh Kelly getting ice, says Paul. Been avoiding Avanesian like the plague since he pulled out of their scheduled bout. What is your thoughts, Ozzy, on this fight? I have a sneaking suspicion, says Paul, that Kelly might pull out through injury. I don't actually agree with that. I think his credibility would be shot if he did.
Yeah, I see the fight going ahead. Looks like it's headlining. A fight that's probably we wanted to see 12 months. I mean, God, we should have saw it 12 months ago, but it's rare you see fighters pull out in the morning of the fight. Yeah, great fight. European title on the line. Avanesian, I mean, was probably going into the fight originally as the underdog. I'd say the tides have certainly flipped now, and he'll be going in for me as the favourite, without a doubt. Since getting beat off Kavaliauskas, he's come back. He got a couple of real good wins over that Kerman Larraia out in Spain, battered him twice, and then I mean he had a bit of a soft touch against that Jose Del Rio. But look, Avanesian's in great form, full of confidence. I've spoken to Avanesian's team before, and they feel they've got Josh Kelly's number. They've been wanting this fight for a while. And it's great to see it's finally happening. I mean, Josh Kelly, I mean, has he boxed since he fought Ray Robinson? Or if it was, I don't think it was much of a... Yeah, he fought that. Yeah, he fought that guy that Josh Taylor fought, didn't he, Andy? That with that Campos, I think.
What's Campos? Taylor smashed him like 4 rounds or something.
Him, didn't he? Yeah. So, for me, I see this being quite a brutal fight for Josh Kelly. And I think Avanesian wins in pretty emphatic fashion. I don't think Kelly has got the power to keep Avanesian off him. And one thing's for sure is Avanesian might not be, like a huge puncher, but he definitely packs a punch. And I think he'll end up getting to Josh Kelly. I think we'll see Kelly, maybe have his impressive spells, but ultimately get worn down, and it'll be too much. And Avanesian will be marching on. I think, look, another defence of that European title. And they'll be looking at the much bigger fights of fringe world level, or potentially, being used as a voluntary at 147. Who knows? But no, a good fight, and one that I'm definitely looking forward to seeing earlier at the end of March.
Yeah, I'd love to see Avanesian win, but something tells me Kelly's going to fiddle his way through and get a narrow points win on the home card, unfortunately. But I would like to see Avanesian get the job done. You know the way it goes. Right, where should we go next? Wrapping up, Kelly, let's go with you over to Nashville, Tennessee. Tennessee Athletic Commission, Caleb Plant defending his IBF title against Vinny Feigenbutz. Andy can probably say in a minute as well. Roshi Warren, comeback of the year on the undercard. Caleb Truax and a guy called Duke Ragin. He's fighting on the undercard, pure raging. Caleb Plant, he can blow hot and cold, he can look like absolute shit, he can look good too. I think Vinny is tough as old boots, so he should go the distance, but he'll be walking onto Plant's sweet shots all night.
No, I think Plant's going to stop him. I think he's going to stop him. I think he'll throw too many combinations. There'll be too many shots that good old Feigenbutz doesn't see coming, and he might be rocked to his Feigenbutz and stopped in Nashville on the card of, that's the tail, in many ways, the tale of two Calebs, none of which are that engaging. Actually, that's a bit harsh on Caleb Plant. I like Caleb Plant. He's had an awful time personally, so you do like to see him do well in the ring, and I think he's very capable. He's just not star quality, just not talking about a bad landscape of super fights for 2020, but there's not that many super fighters out there, and I think he falls into that category. But still, good style, throws nice flashy shots, so I'd imagine he'll do a job on Feigenbutz, man.
Rob, just briefly, you mentioned the Caleb connection there. Truax only fought at the end of January. He's back again on this card. He's a super middleweight. Can you see him being lined up for Plant if he gets the job done?
I Truaxly couldn't give a fuck.
Yeah, Andy, one of the guys in the chat, MB, on the ball as usual, said Duke Ragin was a good amateur for the USA. I thought he would be going to Tokyo. Instead, he's making his super featherweight debut against Bernie. So Duke Ragin could be one to keep an eye on, but you're going to be keeping an eye on Vinny. He'll be there with Nathan Gorman, Pub Dorman, working the doors after he gets battered by Plant, you'd imagine.
Yeah, well, either that or he's going to make me the biggest wanker ever, because as you know, I've been the biggest critic of Feigenbutz. As you say, Steve, he's tough, you know, he's a thick built guy, you know, and he doesn't let his hands go, but defensively he's an absolute shambles. You know, I like Plant. He's got, as you say, he can be hot and cold, but I think he's definitely got skills, and people maybe look at his record and don't put a lot of stock in it. I mean, Porky Medina, okay, but he's generally durable. I think he fought Benavidez. Is that the one DeGale fought as well? I think so. You know, yeah. He's mixed decent company, so I thought it was a decent win as such. Uskatagi as well. I remember that fight. I had him down a few times as well, so he's to be respected. And I would think, you know, this being his second, third defence, he'll probably won't be taking it serious. And I'm going to agree with Rob on that. I'm going to say a late stoppage. I'm going to go for like round about the 10th. You'll see Vinny probably come out. He'll let his hands go, try and back up Plant, who will probably just try and, you know, pick him off on the inside and maybe roll out, and then kind of land kind of longer raking shots, and maybe just kind of break him apart, break him down, and probably finally stop him in the 10th. So I'm giving us a decent breakdown actually, Steve. You're looking laughing in the background.
No, I wasn't. I was laughing at Tosh Bear Grylls in the chat. He said plants growing on me.
The only plants you want growing is one with the buds.
It's got to be on them nice.
Oh god.
He's looking to branch out into other areas.
Yeah. So the only plants you want is the one with the buds that's got the wee bits of crystal on them, Rob.
Withering on the vine, on the grapevine, Rob.
Ooh, I bet you're wondering how I do.
So there we go. I'm going to say Caleb Plant, who's grown on all of us at this point, and he's going to do it 10th round stoppage.
There you go, 10th round stoppage. Gabe, tell me about this one. Honda Centre, Friday evening. Oscar De La Hoya Promotions. Ryan Garcia, 19-0, going in against Francisco Fonseca. They're lining up Garcia for a shot at Jorge Linares, I think. WBC Silver lightweight title is on the line. Big fan of that one. Blair Cobbs on the undercard as well against Samuel Cote Nikwai. A couple of other guys of less importance, Gabe. Ryan Garcia, Francisco Fonseca, you're the resident Ryan Garcia fanboy. What round will he get the job done, Gabriel?
Go fuck yourself, Steve.
Crying like a little bitch.
I don't like that kid at all. He's solid. He's a solid guy as far as a fighter goes. He's got some of those intangible qualities, the quickness and the power that you'd like to have. I mean, anybody who is a fan of boxing and says they wouldn't like those things is a fucking fool or a liar. I suspect he'll come out of the fight pretty well, and then lined up in good shape. I'm not really looking forward to that fight much at all. I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with Blair Cobbs. This guy's a fucking character. I like the shit out of this motherfucker.
Has he got a big afro? Is that him?
Yeah, big, fluffy ass hair. His hair is huge. This is the guy that
British Hair Clinic.
This is the guy.
I remember him.
He beat Ferdinand Korobian. So Korobian's a Golden Boy fighter. I think he's on the comeback trail. So in that particular fight, Cobbs and Korobian had I think a clash of heads that caused a cut, and Korobian struggled the rest of the fight, being able to see the blood was going directly in his eye. He ended up losing that fight, and he was kind of a prospect, I think, and it still is to some regard, I guess. But I was really liking what I was seeing from Korobian at that point in his career. And then I hadn't seen Blair Cobbs prior to that event. So Blair Cobbs came in, did what he had to do, put on a good show. It was a close fight from what I recall. But since then, Blair Cobbs has just been reeling off the wins and making it look good. He's kind of a bit of an unorthodox fighter in the way that he does things. It's not necessarily if you read a boxing textbook, it may be not necessarily the right way to do things. But he's fun as fuck to watch. He's a solid character in terms of watching his interviews and stuff. So I'm pretty high on Blair Cobbs at the minute. I think his ceiling may not be the highest, but I think he's certainly one of those guys that could achieve a world title level at some point if he's matched up right. And obviously he could be a trouble to anybody. He's just a solid fighter. Like I said, not maybe the most beautiful guy to watch and the most technically sound, but he does a lot of fun things, and he's a solid fighter. So I'm actually really more excited about that fight just because of the fact that I'm kind of liked what Blair Cobbs has been putting down in his recent fights. Like I said, looking good. So I would recommend anybody who hasn't seen a lot of Blair Cobbs to go check that fight out. Hopefully it'll be pretty good. All of his fights usually are, they're not barn burners. He's not a Arturo Gatti kind of guy, but solid fighter, fun to watch.
There you go, look out for Blair Cobbs, everybody, says Gabriel. Episode 359, Boxing Style Nuthouse podcast. Gabe there. Aussie Andy, Rob with me, Steve. We're going to go on to Bellew of the Week shortly. We're going to have a word on Dubois Joyce as well, which was announced before we go on to Bellew of the Week. So if you're listening to us on iTunes, don't forget to leave a review. And if you're listening to us on YouTube, hit the thumbs up button, why don't you? Hit subscribe, hit the thumbs down if you want. If you think we're shit, that's fine too. Dubois versus Joyce, let's get on to that then, Andy. First to you. I'm going to put you to sleep. Bring your sleeping bag. Harsh words being exchanged by these two intellectual behemoths. It's a good fight though, isn't it? Put the pay-per-view aside. We'll go on Team Stream. Two big lads getting it on. Looking forward to this one, Andy.
Yeah, it was Shiz Ali for shit talking levels, wasn't it? Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it actually.
Float like a butterfly, sting like ADHD.
or HIV. No, I see it could easily been avoided. MGP. Hey, listen, that was some camel toast you had, eh?
Forget the toe. What about the face?
Shit, man. Oh, what's your
jawline?
Jawline. That's EGH.
The jawline you could.
EGH.
HGH. See it from space. See it from space like the Great Wall of China.
Piss off, Rob. You're knocking him off his stride.
I know. What are you asking me there? You asking me MGP's camel toe. Was it camel toe you're talking about? Aye. So I would say it was a sight to behold, wasn't it? Right. So shut up. Right, where are we? Joyce. Aye, so early prediction.
I've done it.
I'm going to go for Joyce. no saying that. Well, I'm just not 100% there with Dubois yet. I know he's active and stuff, but still the level of opposition. I mean, okay, the Gorman fight was a big pressure moment. I suppose it was, a fight they were calling upon. I just think he's come through those tests and that he's been active, but I still think there's a wee question mark of what would he do under severe pressure. And I think unless he can really hurt Joyce early doors and that, and allows him to kind of get into the 4th, 5th round where Joyce really starts picking up speed, it might be a different fight altogether, and that's what we want to see. We want to see questions asked to both guys, but more so Dubois, because obviously he's got the more mileage at this point. But I'm going to say at this point, if it gets past 4 or 5 rounds and Dubois hasn't made a dent in him, I'm going to say Joyce starts taking over and potentially maybe breaks him down. But I could see Dubois maybe just kind of sitting on the back foot, jabbing away, right hand, and just grapple as well at the same time. I might change. I need to go back, maybe watch some more fights of them as well, just kind of refresh myself. But at this point, I'm going to say early doors, Joe Joyce. Maybe late, maybe on points and stuff. But yeah, I'm going to stick with that just now. I'll come back to me. When's the fight happening again? Is it April?
God, I don't know.
What date's that fight?
Yeah, it's in April. April I think it's the 11th.
London, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, two.
Ah, shit, that's pish. I might have went down it today, actually, if I hadn't been in London. But yeah, I'm going to say Joyce at this point. I just like he's... people shit on him all the time. I keep mentioning it, I keep harping back to it. He is what he is at this point. He's not going to change his style. He's not going to do anything flashy and that. He's just going to come forward, jab, right hand, and then once he gets really into top form, he just kind of hammers away at you and just slowly breaks you down. So at this point, I've got to favour that at the minute. Anytime I've watched him, even in the amateurs and stuff, he was always the same, and he always made it work for him. Only guys who like superior technical fighters in the amateurs beat him. And so I'm going to say at this point, I didn't see it for Dubois. I see him stiff, upright, and potentially kind of maybe even tailor-made for Joyce. So we'll wait and see.
Yeah. April the 11th, High Guard Plodder thought they would play the rankings game for a world title shot for Dubois. Yeah, I'm surprised they made it, Ozzy. Also, Andy's analysis there, I thought I'd be on my own here, but I'm also picking Joyce. I don't particularly rate him as a fighter, but I think he's a big lump, he's fit, he's strong, he throws a lot of shots, and he's going to be really awkward to beat, because he'll keep coming, and I'm actually picking Joyce on points as well. What do you think?
No, I'm going with Dubois in this one. I see him... I think Joyce is tailor-made for him. I think he's quite sluggish. I think he's upright, and I think he's there to hit. We've seen him take shots in his previous fights, and I think at one point, from memory, I think Bryant Jennings definitely hurt Joe Joyce in the middle rounds. Big Bermain landed at will as well, before ultimately gassing out because he was fat as a pig. But no, it's a great fight. One that I think everybody is happy to see. Obviously, the pay-per-view aspect is disappointing, but fights like this in boxing don't happen if they're not on pay-per-view, which is a sad state of affairs. That saying, it takes nothing away from the fight. It's a big step up for Dubois in terms of Joyce's background, experience. Joyce has only had a short pro career, but his wins and calibre of opponents have been far superior to that of Dubois. But what I like about Dubois is that he goes about things quietly. He's constantly learning, and he's looking better and better each time he gets in the ring. Yeah, that Fujimoto was absolutely garbage, but he deals with opponents in the right way. All too often we see sometimes that, opponents will get thrown in out the depth, but then boxers will lower their levels. Dubois doesn't do that, and he gets them out of there. He can punch with both hands. I think he's got an excellent jab. And, we know Joyce can take a shot, but we've seen him be stopped in the amateurs before. I don't think he's going to get Joyce out of there early. However, what I do think is that he could wear him down and get perhaps a late stoppage win. We saw Dubois when, in his only real meaningful test against Nathan Gorman, how switched on he was. And a lot of people were picking Gorman in that fight to outbox him. and make Dubois look silly at times, but that was far from it. Dubois was focused on the target, and he absolutely battered Nathan Gorman. I don't see him ultimately doing the same job on Joyce in that manner, but I do see Dubois running out as a winner, and I think if he can get the win over Joyce in somewhat impressive fashion, it will be massive. And then look, you get a win over Joyce there, who is arguably European level. Then again, the only way is up for Dubois, and I like the matchmaking. I certainly don't think if he does come unstuck, a loss is the end of his career. Because look, he'd have only had 15 fights, and he's definitely young. For Joyce, it could be a bit more damaging from that perspective, particularly being at the age of 34. But overall, a real good fight. Needs a good undercard to justify the price. I think it's fair to say 3 or 4 big fights that people want to see. Not just big names in action against puddings, but no, a good fight, and I can't wait for it.
Gabe, any interest from across the pond? I know these guys might not be on your radar, but it's good to see 2 unbeaten, not necessarily young, but fresh heavyweights going in against each other, testing themselves before moving on to the world scene. It's something that would interest you anyway?
Oh, yeah, to some extent. I mean, I feel like it's maybe not for everyone here in the States who's not familiar with these 2 guys. And certainly my familiarity is not what it is for you guys. I think, the geographic location and everything kind of makes a big difference in how we typically view fighters differently. But I do think that, it is solid. I mean, it is a good fight worth watching. I don't necessarily think that obviously whoever wins will have some good implications of good things to come on their end. But either way it turns out, I could see either guy going on to be pretty solid. Look, I don't think from what I've seen so far that either of these fighters is going to be a serious threat at world level. And that's not to say that they're bad, because obviously, as I've said, my experience with them and the amount of material I've seen on them, it has not been that much. They're still young as well, so there's a lot of room for these guys to grow and learn. But these are the kind of fights that are necessary for guys to build up to that level. This shows you a little bit of what they've got, and shows you if they have that potential inside of them to get up to the level that we're talking about. So overall, I feel like it's going to be a pretty solid fight, and I really like the fact that they're going this route and facing each other, and neither guy's afraid to go head to head and see what happens. And like I said, there are some implications of good things to come, and setting people up in positions to be getting into mandatory position and those kind of things. I feel like whoever loses the fight will take a step back, obviously, but not a tremendous step back so far that they'll be, fighting the Robert Helenius of the world. Solid show. So I'm intrigued by it. I do think it'll be fun to watch.
Rob, final comment to you just before we come to you, actually, for your heavyweight opinion on this heavyweight clash. I'm sure you won't mind me mentioning that Jason Chukwu has appeared.
I fell asleep.
Good old Chukwu. He'll be looking forward to Dubois, Joyce, as will you, Rob.
PCP, baby.
I think it's a great fight. I'm really intrigued by this fight. I think I'm edging towards Dubois. Actually, I'm pretty certain Dubois going to do it. The only thing is he has to, as Ozzy mentioned, he was switched on in the Gorman fight. He's shown he can be patient, but that's what he's doing.
Rob, you sound like that wind is sexually assaulting you there. Are you okay?
Is it bad? Yeah. I go up there. I go up the street a bit. Hold on, then let me see if I can get across here. But I think it depends on how active Joyce is when Dubois being patient, because he's going to come forward and put him on him. But I'd say a couple of big statements here. I don't think Dubois, I wouldn't begrudge him his pay-per-view moment, because when you look at the likes of Dillian White, who's gone on pay-per-view, and some of the fights he's had on pay-per-view cards, and
Joshua Cornish.
Yeah, I think Dubois worth the money. He's been exciting so far, And I think his power in terms of guys that can really crack, apart from Wilder, in the heavyweight division at the moment, he's probably the most eye-catching in terms of just pure raw power. He seems to be living a life. I think he's going to hit Joyce, and Joyce is going to feel it. I think he's going to do it. I think Joyce I've never seen as the future of the heavyweight division, I don't think. And I think he could come unstuck against Dubois. If Dubois is what I think he's going to be, I think he'll beat Joe Joyce at this juncture.
Thanks for that, Rob. Something we'll look forward to anyway on April the 11th.
But not the real Joe Joyce.
Not the real Joe Joyce. Yeah, the real Joe Joyce. Now that would be a spectacle to behold. Episode 359, everybody. Let's move on to Belly of the Weeks before we get out of here for another evening. First nomination comes from me to Floyd Mayweather, running around at an American football game looking like a suitcase. Not quite sure he's stylish, I think. Did you see that one, Andy? Getting dressed in a power cut again.
Someone said he looked like a rich Tuskegee airman.
he's got all these pouches like he's fucking G-Man, but as Rob says, man, he looks like sucking... What was it, some sort of kind of Versace shit or something like that? Oh,
he looks like he's trying to run up on you and sell you fake gear on holidays.
Floyd running around the pyramids. Gervonta Davis has also been nominated. I'm not sure who nominated this one, but anyway, Gervonta Davis has been sued for $250,000 by Shine Jewelers. They claim that Gervonta used a counterfeit cheque to pay for various pieces of jewellery. They say Gervonta knew that the cashier's cheque was counterfeit, and he acted intentionally and with malicious intent. The lawsuit also asks that he either returns the jewellery or pays the $250,000 plus interest in addition to damages. Briefly, Andy, sucked out, fucked out, looking for a handout?
You love to see it. You just love to see it.
There you go, short and sweet from Andy. No Gervonta hate tonight. Don't want to get the blood pressure raising too much. Blood pressure's raising in the Glenn McCrory household anyway. We want our fishing back, shouts Glenn. We want our coal back. We want our shipyards back. We want our iron and steel back. You took it all away from my generation. It's coming back, ranted Glenn. No doubt he'd been on the old Nuki Brown when he started tweeting out there. On Brexit night, Ted Barrett has nominated Anthony Fowler. Fowler was going in on UFL. UFL. Oh God, that time of the night. UFL, I'm UFL. Jesus. Anyway, he said, disgusted with the tweets I've been getting sent from Umar. I don't care what type of person he is, blah, blah, blah. Adam McGarry jumped in, scumbag lad. And Anthony Fowler said, horrible that, isn't it, lad? Even when I was a kid, I had respect. And then someone dug up an old Anthony Fowler tweet where he said, here I am, 15 years old in the schoolboy national semi-finals. I love watching back old fights because I remember how hungry I was. If you watch my body language on the full video, I had no respect for my opponent. I was just a kid from Toxteth and really wanted to hurt the other lad. As you get older, you learn that respect. So, controversial hypocrisy from old Fowles there on Twitter. He got caught out.
He had a go at the Muslim community as well in a previous life, didn't he? So he was casting judgment on Umar, but he got form himself for some kind of Tommy Robinson-esque style tweets earlier in his career. So you know what I mean? People in glass houses, baby.
Yeah. See that Umar video? Really, it would have been complete. Pathetic. No, listen, it would have been complete if he was dressed in an orange jumpsuit and you had somebody standing next to him with a fucking IRA mask going a knife to his throat.
Look, I just have so little respect for that kind of statement. You know, your sincere voice, Umar. Oh, I've matured. Oh, I've learned so much. I had little education, might I add. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Just come out and say, look, man, I was a kid. For fuck's sake, I was a kid making jokes on Twitter. That's football banter. People go on like that. It's unfortunate choice of words. I was only a little fella. I was only 17. Relax. Like, I'm not leaving IFL TV. Get over it. And Smiggy and all the boys that see us when I'm down in Liverpool, I didn't mean it. Have a joke, man. It's a joke. Do you know what I mean? Instead of going, oh, I'm so sorry, and I think the best thing is to take some time off, and I've learned that I'm not the man I am today. Shut the fuck up, Umar. Just say you fucking wrote the tweet, you were a kid, and just get on with it. Like, start your own channel or something. Don't be such a fucking baby.
Tough luck, baby.
That's UFL told. That's Omar. Eddie Hearn in the airport. What's up, Twitter? And Tom Abella jumped in. You are one of the biggest names in boxing. I'd personally say you're bigger than boxing. Only you and Ali have done that. Blue-eyed boy nominated Mr. Abella for that one. Aaron Gray is talking about Devon Haney. Blacklisted Boxing says Lomachenko lives off bums, only racists like him. British boxing blog. British boxing blog.
That's the leader so far.
They're nominating that one.
So I think I got involved in that one actually as well. What a wanker.
Don't get involved. Trading Leather Boxing has gone in on Dave Allen. Return of the Rhino. Dave Allen was talking about how excited he was to be back, sharing the bill with Terry Harper. Trading Leather Boxing says he sounds like Bellew after getting drilled by Usyk, repeating Hellfire. JD Sports, nominated by Super Dicky. Fancy the chance to win 2 tickets to see Special K Brook take on DeLuca. Head down to JD Meadow Hall for a chance to win. They were giving the tickets away. Daniel Dubois, talking about how it's going to kick off on, I think it was on GMTV or something. Zico said, I'm nominating the lamest trash talk of all time for Bellew of the Week. That's Daniel Dubois. Marcus Bellinger, definite Bellew of the Week for Barry McGuigan, writing in the Mirror. Kell Brook has already done enough to be remembered as a British great, says the Clonus Cyclone. Guillermo Quitondo has nominated Coogan. 2 a.m. in the morning. Coogan think we wouldn't notice. Coogan was liking tweets by a young lady called Sally Axel. Looks quite the woman. Onlyfans.com/Sally Axel if you're interested. Showing a bit of flesh. All over that. There you go. Rapping Kelly loves a bit of that too. Slayer is trying to say that Dillian White has a better resume than Tyson Fury. Teddy Watson nominated him for that. Patrick IFL Patrick caught this Dominic Ingle video. Did anybody see this Dominic Ingle? Yes. This music video.
I saw it.
What the hell's going on there?
Fast car Eddie, baby. Fast car Eddie. Come on, Rob, lead us into it, man.
I haven't listened to it, man. Fuck that. I wasn't listening to that shit. No way.
Honestly, God. I actually watched the two of them in the ring last night to see how if it was any awkward and that, but they seem to be quite best of friends in that, so clearly all about the bants, the bants.
And had you watched Kell in the Ring previously or no?
The old rusty sheriff's badge, yeah.
I don't know what was going on with that Ingle thing.
I'm warming to Dominic Ingle. I like his outspokenness. He's starting to look a bit like Brendan, Steve, the older he gets as well.
Admit it, you like the tune.
That was a good tune, yeah.
I knew it. That's the reason why you brought it up. I was going to nominate it as well, actually, Boris. It was Fast Car Eddie. I listened to it tomorrow, I listened to it fleetingly. I didn't get the lyrics and that. Someone will probably post up the lyrics and that because I've got nothing better today, but it'll be interesting to kind of know what was actually said and that, but it looked a bit kind of weird. Who was the young guy who walked in with the suit?
Yeah, I was going to ask that actually. I don't know who the boxer was, Andy. Yeah.
Who the fuck was that? Who was he meant to be imitating Eddie?
Can we get Dominic now to move on from Fast Car Eddie to a cover of Fast Car by Tracy Chapman for our expense?
The Black Jesus.
Fast Car out of here when UK come knocking anyway. Dobson Boxbet has nominated Chris Eubank Jr. for his fabricated story about being broken into. Harry Potter is more believable. Also nominated Special K Brook, just generally, turned pro in 2004 and still fighting cabbies in 2020, says Dobson Boxbet. Barry White is nominated... There you go. Gabe's not biting. Barry White has nominated Derek C. Dave Allen. Depends which Dave Allen turns up. I genuinely believe Dave gives Triple D, Daniel Dubois, more problems than Joe Joyce will. Gavin Stevens has nominated The Bomber on catchphrase yesterday. Tony Bellew. Everybody needs to give him up now. Tony Bellew turning up on national TV, guys, on catchphrase. He had the audience in hysterics, apparently. For those who watched him, anyone decent would have been leaving him alone.
You should have left him alone. They should have.
Just say what you see, Tony. You fucking rat.
The Guru, Tommy Allen, formerly of this parish, now quit like a bitch. Come on, Tommy, come back on, won't you? Any eye socket can get it. War DeLuca, hashtag. That was nominated by you, Gabe. Nominating the Guru, the boss. Do you want to get fired, Gabriel? Explain yourself.
Yeah, fuck him.
Gabe's on the beer tonight, you can tell that, by the way.
Aye.
What's that?
You're on the piss tonight, aren't you?
I sure am.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it was too impassioned to plea for Kell Brook earlier. We knew you were on the sauce.
Yeah, I knew something's up, like.
Angry drunk Gabe.
it's occasionally the best day ever to do that, you know.
What are you drinking? Corona?
Oh, fuck no. No, there's a brewer here down in Texas, Carbach.
Moonshine, baby.
And they do a Bach. So there's also another brewer here in Texas that does a Bach style beer. Spetzel Brewery, name of the company is Shiner. I don't know if they ship.
You got shares
Boxing Asylum.
You got shares of them, by the way, Chance.
But if you need some, I can't send it to you because they won't let me. They won't send it in the fucking mail. But come over, we'll have a whole bunch of them.
Well, we'll go like patrolling about a compound and that, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's really just a
Confederate-
house. It's not a compound, but
Right. I thought you'd had a compound with a Confederate flag hanging out there, or the rifles.
He at least has a
Gabe.
he at least has a sex dungeon anyway. I know that.
Gabe, is that the type of stuff that you get your money back if you don't get liver damage?
they ought to. No, this shit that we have here is nothing like what you guys have. I mean, as far as alcohol by volume, I mean, I don't know what kind of percentage you guys are drinking, but this particular one is. Let's see here.
2%.
It's only 4.5%.
That's a bitch ass.
Talking to an English fella, an Irish lad, and a Scotsman. Yeah. All right, man.
Yeah, no, that's like I said. I mean, but the best thing about it is having lower volume. You can just fucking drink more of it.
I've got a nice Glenfiddich on the go here, so I'm feeling no pain.
No pain. Plenty of pain for the guru. Plenty of pain for the guru in the chat. You see what Lee the alcoholic Futch has written? Fucking hell.
No, don't say it, because Tommy's already said this week the jokes are over now. People think they fucking know him and they can make jokes about him. He's like, no, fuck that. Like, you do some harm to someone.
That's fucking classic.
That's bad, isn't it? I don't even know if I should read that out or not.
Oh my Jesus Christ.
I don't think I should read that out. It's that bad. You may come to Mixler if you want to see comments like that.
I'm just gonna.
I'll tell you one thing. Rob will love this one, by the way. The Bernard's due in July, and he's fucking sweating. It's going to arrive on the 12th.
No surrender.
No surrender.
Nice singing from the boys there.
He'll stick his tongue there and make sure it doesn't come out for the 13th. That's what he'll do. He's just going to keep it in there. Then pull the plug.
Friday the 13th.
What's the importance of that?
We'll move on to that.
Yeah, it's 10:05. We can't get into that now.
It's kind of a long story, Gabe.
Yeah, it could take about 200 years to figure it out.
Yeah, Declan Graffin has nominated Dominic Ingle as well for the song. Prince Patel is having a bit of beef with Dennis McCann. Classic from the Prince. He jumped in and said, "Hello, little champ." I respectfully reply, "I fought for an IBO world title live on TV worldwide in Saudi Arabia. If you think you versus me on BT Sport will comfortably get over six figures, and your promoters and coach truly believe in you, then get them to contact me. Thanks first and only response. Good luck." So Prince Patel says he'll only fight Dennis McCann if they can guarantee that BT Sports will pay comfortably over six figures for the fight to happen. He's pulling up a stool at the bar of delusion, man, Andy. I mean, Jesus Christ.
It's Prince Patel. Hey, I blame you for this shit, because you were the one that said, IBO was one of the big five. Now it was most respected title. The enforced mandatories. Chris Eubank was cutting about town about and stuff like that, making it legitimate. And he fights for it now. He's demanding six figures. He clearly listens to this podcast, to your opinions.
I blame myself too. I blame myself too.
Fucking
Joe
hell.
Lanz nominating that one.
As I said before, drinking from the goblet of delusion, that one. Fucking hell.
Of delusion. Hamed has nominated Jack, who said Yard fought last night in a pub fight. Imagine if Eddie Hearn put one of his world title challengers in a pub fight in his next bout. Geez, Frank, doing wonders for his profile. AJ Sutherland has been nominated by Joe Kennedy. The Buck we just saw beat Charlo. Yes, he's not the same Buck that beat Porter, but he still beats Charlo. Dominic Ingle again nominated from Smigger's Titties. Smigger's Titties has also nominated Isaiah Darius Charles for saying that John Ryder would beat Canelo. He's also nominated Glenn McCrory for tweeting, liking some nudie tweets. Not sure about this one. It's from Chris Adams. It's been sent in for Jay Carrigan McFarlane, comparing his new mentor Dave Allen to Muhammad Ali. And friend of the pod, shout out to the main man Ted Barrett, who's nominated Matthew Macklin for saying Dave Allen has always had good head movement on the commentary last night. And Zeconomics has nominated Jim White from Sky Sports. Travelled up to Sheffield to see one of boxing's nice guys. Dave Allen beat Dorian Darch in 3 rounds on the Kell Brook undercard. That is all the ones I have for now, gentlemen. Starting with you, Andy, any nominations?
I'm trying to remember. Gervonta Davis, there was some article, quite a lengthy one actually, appeared in Ring Magazine for some renowned lawyer saying that there's a good chance that the possibility of Tank Davis doing time for that attack on that baby mama of his, and that apparently she got struck about the face and ended up sustaining injuries to her jaw and to her lip. So we'll wait and see how it goes. But I see he's been slapping her good and proper. Do you get that one for Isaiah Darius Charles? I think you read that one. It was for Smigger's Titties.
Yep,
so other than that, mate, it's been quite bare for me. Trying to remember off the top of my head. Maybe Hearn. MGP for the camel's toe.
Oh yeah, camel toe. Getting into the Saudi Arabian theme again by dropping a camel toe.
Yeah. I thought about that, or just eating too many pies, you know.
Aye, possibly. Ozzy, any nominations from you?
Negative, not this week.
Nothing from Ozzy. Gabe, any nominations?
No.
Nothing from Gabe either. Rapping Rob Kelly, you've always got something tasty for us.
No, I've nothing this week. I just really have to go with Gervonta with his chain hanging low. Does a swing it to a fro? What the fuck is he doing with the chain if he can't afford it? Like, imagine a fella of his profile. This is what I mean about him and being just a dimwit. Like, imagine having his profile in the States and then going into a jeweler's and trying to cash a counterfeit check knowingly to get a chain that you're going to publicly put around your neck. What a fuck! Like, talk about being devoid of a brain cell, this fella. Like, and he's going to. I think he will do time. I think they're going to go after him now. He's on camera doing it. He's caught red-handed. There's no way out of it. Like, I did say nothing's going to happen, but then when I saw that the lady herself had press charges as well, I was like, he's fucking gone now. Like, he's definitely going to get some jail time, and probably deservedly so. Like, he's acting like a fucking moron. So, he gets my nomination again.
Who does the chain better, Rob? Gervonta or Porky?
Go to Adrien!
A rumple fucking still skin.
Doing it for the fans.
Porky's been putting in some cracking content lately. I'll give him his due, man. Fair play.
I like to.
Honestly, I want to know if he's like sober as us when he's doing that shit. I want to know if he's full of the fucking beak.
I love the new intro with the explosion. That's like the beginning of MacGyver. I like that part. Keep that one up.
Aye, fair play to him. Right, okay, so Gervonta Davis from you, Rob. Who are you going for, Andy?
It's a toss-up for me between Prince Patel and who was the one for Lomachenko again, saying that he's a racist or something.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I'll find it. But yeah, I know which one you mean. Yeah.
So,
Blacklisted boxing, Andy. Blacklisted boxing.
I'm going to go for Prince Patel. That is just serious levels of delusion, by the way. So, I'm going for Prince Patel.
Yeah, I'm going for Prince Patel as well. Citing the fact that you got your ass handed to you in an IBO world title fight on Saudi Arabian TV, and you can command comfortably over 6 figures against Dennis McCann.
Umar, no, sorry, I'm going to take mine back for Gervonta. Umar's apology trumps Gervonta's domestic abuse charge. Just fucking own it, like, with your big fucking fake apology head, like, fucking sincere from the heart. Go away, Umar, like.
You just knew.
Playing to Coogan, playing to Hearn, like, just own it, like, get on with it.
You just knew Coogan was behind that camera with a fucking, not a billboard, what do you call me, going auto cues, and he's sitting reading it off at. Yeah, Steve, I'm a fucking hater. I can hear the fucking.
That's not me playing that. That's not me playing that.
Who's playing it?
I think it's
Ozzy
Ozzy.
probably.
Is that you, Ozzy?
We know it's Ozzy.
Then you, Ozzy.
No comment. No.
Ah, you wanker. I heard it 3 or 4 times after I just finished talking as well, you wanker. You're a hater.
Go on, Ozzy. Who you going for?
Oh, tough.
Rumple fucking Stiltskin.
I think we've got to go for Dominic Ingle this week. He's a grown man, father of 2, and he's spent his time making a music video and a song about Eddie Hearn.
Yes.
What is he playing at? And the funniest thing was, he's issued a complaint because
That's right. Yeah.
the video was leaked because it's actually got a release date.
That's right. It's been released.
So this song, which has got a release date, and he's pissed off because the embargo was broke. This is a grown man who has kids, and he's fucking making songs about Eddie Hearn, and then kicking off with whoever because they released it early. So yeah, Dominic Ingle for me. Whether he's trolling or not, he can have an award for his song because this was content that is on another level.
That's right, I forgot about that. The guy had broken he's going to start consulting friggin' legal or something because the release date was broken.
I know. Absolutely absurd.
Yeah, so 1 for Dom, 1 for Umar, 2 for Prince Patel for me and you, Andy. So Prince is currently in the lead. Gabe could change all that with his nomination. Go ahead, Gabe.
Man, that's a lot of good ones. I'm going to go with the Prince on this one.
Oh, there you go. Congratulations. With 3 votes, Prince Patel might have come up short in the IBO World Title opportunity, but he is the Bellew of the Week for episode 359. Congratulations, sir. Right, boys, we're going to finish up. I don't think there's anything else that I've missed, is there? Speak now, briefly, if there is. I think we've covered all bases tonight, haven't we? Yeah, we've gone through everything. It's 10 past 10. Thanks to everybody who's been on as usual. Everybody in the chat having a good time. Ozzy Smith over there, rapping Rob Kelly, Gabe Lewis, Andy Patterson. I've been Steve Wellings for episode 359. Catch you all for 360. Same time, same place next week. Bye.
You're a hater.